The school bully, right in front of the whole class, slapped my beautiful girlfriend on the butt. Not only did I not throw a punch, I just turned around and walked away, but then she ran after me, calling me a coward. Faced with her accusations, I just gave a dry, indifferent smirk. You little green tea bitch. Do you think this is still my past life? In my past life, I risked everything and beat the crap out of that bully, but I never expected him to go around spreading rumors that I was just her simp. She even teamed up with that same bully, deliberately framing me in front of the teachers. It didn't just get me a disciplinary record, it also made me miss the crucial turning point of the college entrance exam. The most ridiculous part was, after graduating high school, she actually got together with that bully. She's even married him. But now that I've been reborn, why would I ever ruin my reputation in future for someone like you? Right now, in the teacher's office, listening to the two of them making excuses, I just found it hilarious. In my past life, I tried so hard to defend myself, but it was all in vain. At first, I didn't quite understand why the teacher wouldn't believe me. But later I realized, this whole so-called interrogation was just a formality from the start. Zhao Tianlei is the son of the dean of students. The homeroom teacher definitely knew that, so no matter how much I explained, it was useless. The other guy was never going to get punished anyway. Besides, Chen Siro wasn't on my side at all. I understand. You two can head back first. Just as I expected, homeroom teacher Song Wenbo, after hearing Chen Siro's answer, nodded and said, Lin Yifei, what am I going to do with you? Your grades aren't bad at all. How could you slip up at such a critical time in your senior year? Even if you like Chen Siro, you could have waited until after graduation to pursue her. Straight up hitting someone like that is just wrong. Do you understand? The punishment for this has already been decided. You will write a 1,500-word reflection letter, and then you'll receive a school-wide disciplinary notice. There are only a little over 100 days left until the college entrance exam. Don't ruin your whole life over something like this. I just calmly replied, I refuse. Hearing this, Mr. Song Wenbo immediately flared up. His eyes widened as he snapped. What did you just say, refuse? Do you have any idea how big of a mistake you've made? Fighting is already wrong to begin with, let alone during this critical period before the college entrance exam. The fact that his family isn't pressing charges against you is already incredibly lucky. And let me tell you, whether you write that reflection letter or not, you're still getting disciplined. If you refuse to admit your mistake, then I have no choice but to call your parents in. At this, I just smiled. The homeroom teacher then opened his computer, pulled up the student parent contact files, found my mom's number, and dialed it right away. Honestly, I couldn't care less. Compared to all the grievances I suffered in my past life, even failing the college entrance exam, that was the real letdown to my parents. Now, nothing can stop me anymore. No matter what you say, I will never admit to being wrong. Like I said, I'm not in the wrong. As for the truth, you know it better than anyone else. Anyway, discipline me however you want. With that, I turned around and walked right out of the office. Who are you kidding? I'm a reincarnator. For crying out loud. You think I'd be scared of these petty tricks? Now that I've been reborn into my senior year, I will absolutely never bow my head and admit fault again. Besides, failing the college entrance exam back then dealt me a massive blow. Right now, those exam questions are still crystal clear in my mind. I swear, the glory that belongs to me, I will take it all back. Amuse. When I got back to the classroom, the whole class was buzzing. How did it go? What happened? My close friends crowded around me, constantly asking about my situation. I just smiled and replied, what else? He wants me to write an apology letter, take a disciplinary mark, and get a school-wide criticism notice, but I already told the teacher. I'm not writing it. After saying that, I sat down, took out my books, and got ready to study seriously, to consolidate my knowledge. Sun Fei, sitting next to me, gave a thumbs up and laughed. Badass. You said you wouldn't write the letter. So what did the teacher say? I smiled casually. He's calling my parents, obviously. But when Chen Siro heard that, she started panicking. She immediately came over and pulled me out into the hallway. Chen Siro anxiously tried to persuade me. How could you refuse the teacher's demand if you don't write the reflection letter? What happens if this blows up? You're mad, I know. I lied. And you're definitely furious. I'm sorry. I didn't want it to be like this either. But think about it. If we both get punished, isn't it better for just you to take the fall? Instead of both of us getting punished. You just want me to get punished too, is that it? Are you only happy if I go down with you? Chen Siro put on a pitying, innocent face, hoping to convince me to step up and take the blame for this. In my past life, it was exactly because of her persuasion that I ended up shouldering everything alone, becoming an absolute fool. But this time, how could I possibly make the same mistake? And what if I still refuse? Besides, didn't you say you disliked Zhao Tianlei? Why are you still helping him? Chen Siro hurriedly explained, I'm not helping him. I'm just looking out for myself. I just don't want to complicate things further. If you don't want to write the reflection letter, I can write it for you. Just go apologize to the teacher and this whole thing will blow over, won't it? Do we really have to let them call our parents? Chen Siru couldn't help but grab my arm, her eyes filled with pleading. She said pitifully, I'm begging you. I really don't want my parents to know about this. Please, just help me out. I can agree to that. I casually smiled and replied, agree to what? Chen Siru bit her lip and muttered, don't you like me? I can give you a chance to pursue me. I immediately burst out laughing. Sorry, you should save that chance for someone else. With that, I turned around and walked straight back into the classroom. I was truly blind in my past life. Am I supposed to keep being blind in this life too? Besides, if I'm going to pursue anyone, it should be a true white moonlight, not a two-faced white lotus like you. Suddenly, my eyes lit up. Right about now, that girl must still be getting bullied at the school next door. Not long after, the homeroom teacher called me to the office again. Right then, I saw my mom looking at me with a complicated expression. Clearly, she never expected that her son would get into a fight over puppy love. After all, for as long as she could remember, I had always been a well-behaved, obedient kid. My grades had always been excellent, too. I've already told your mother about your situation. Explain it clearly to her yourself. My mom, Hyejin, let out a heavy sigh, pulled me aside, and questioned me in the corner of the office. Mom, here's what actually happened. I leaned in close to her ear and whispered the explanation. Finally, I took out my phone and opened the messages Chen Suro had sent me. My mom was so furious she was about to lose it. It turned out her son had been wronged all along, Hyejin said angrily. How could this girl lie like that? She immediately grabbed the phone, shoved it in front of Mr. Song Wenbo, and retorted, my son really isn't lying about this. He didn't just see a WeChat moment and run over there. It was this girl who claimed she was being harassed. My son couldn't stand by and watch, so he rushed over. Mr. Song Wenbo's eyes widened in shock. He hadn't expected there to be a chat log like this, but he immediately gritted his teeth and said, lying is indeed wrong, but it's a fact that Lin Yifei hit someone. Furthermore, the person he hit is a student athlete. If his arms or legs get injured, wouldn't that ruin his chances for the exams? After that, Mr. Song Wenbo started lecturing me again. Lin Yifei, I just want you to reflect on your mistake of hitting someone. No matter what, you shouldn't have resorted to violence. Right, Chen Siru lied, and I will definitely discipline her as well. Setting all that aside, you are still at fault, aren't you? I smiled and replied, ha ha ha. Setting all that aside, how ridiculous. Who would have thought a teacher could actually say something like that? Sir, if we set the truth aside, does that make me Qin Shi Huang? The fault was theirs to begin with. On what grounds am I the only one getting punished? Why don't you just punish all three of us at the same time? Issue a disciplinary notice for all of us. I'm fine with whatever. Mr. Song Wenbo was furious. Look at this kid. He made a mistake and doesn't have the slightest bit of remorse, and he even dares to talk back to me. If you ask me, a 1,500-word reflection letter isn't enough. You need to write at least a 3,000-word reflection letter, and you'll get a school-wide criticism notice. You have absolutely no sense of repentance. You have absolutely no sense of repentance. I just retorted with a cold smirk. Sir, anyway. Zhao Tianlei definitely won't be getting a disciplinary notice, will he? Right. Are you sure you even deserve to be a teacher? Hearing this, the homeroom teacher shot up from his chair and roared, Lin Yifei, now you even dare to insult your teacher. Seeing Mr. Song Wenbo, complaining to the parent next to him. You see this? Look at the attitude on this kid. I don't even want to deal with this anymore. Go straight to the dean's office. What's the point of going to the dean's office? Do you think I don't know? Zhao Tianlei is the dean's son. You think he'd ever let his own son take the fall? The moment those words left my mouth, everything exploded. Half an hour later, in the dean's office, Dean Lu Chang's face darkened as he criticized everything that was just said in the teacher's office. I've heard it all. You're Lin Yifei's parent, right? Let's hold off on who's right and who's wrong for a moment. Let's just talk about his attitude. Not only did he talk back to his teacher, he made his homeroom teacher so angry his chest hurt. What kind of behavior is that? And what's this about me not letting my son take the fall? If my son makes a mistake, he gets criticized just the same. I'll scold and beat that little brat just the same. I'll give him a good beating when I get home. But let me be clear. Lin Yifei must apologize to his teacher. He must read it in front of the whole school. A 3,000-word reflection letter. His case is already severe enough. If he doesn't realize his mistake and refuses to change his ways, then our school won't be able to teach him anymore. Hearing that last sentence, Hyejin immediately grew anxious. Dean, what do you mean? Are you planning to expel my son? He's already in his senior year. Dean Lu Chang sat there, unable to keep his cool as he criticized. Look at him. He doesn't even respect his teachers. He even said they don't deserve to be teachers. How do you expect us to teach a student like this? It's not that we don't want to teach him. It's that we simply can't. Hyejin tried to explain. I know my son can be a bit stubborn, but before she could finish, I suddenly spoke up. Mom, it's no big deal. If it comes down to it, I'll just transfer schools. I'm sick of first high anyway. Second high next door isn't bad either. Dean Lu Chiang was so furious he looked like he was about to drop dead. He couldn't hold back, pointing at me and yelling, "Look at him. Look at your Lin Yifei. I'm giving him one last chance right now. Either he seriously reflects on his mistakes, or he can drop out." I sneered. This damn first high. I don't even want to study here anymore. After the news spread, the whole class was in an uproar. Are you crazy? Transferring schools? Transferring right now. What are you going to do about the college entrance exam? Just write the reflection letter and admit your mistake. A few close classmates all came over one after another to persuade me. After all, the college entrance exam is a major life-determining event. The homeroom teacher just told me, if you agree to write the 3,000-word reflection letter, take the disciplinary mark, and apologize to him, then this whole thing will be dropped. Otherwise, our whole class won't have any chemistry lessons, Lu Zian said in frustration. It's one thing for you to get disciplined for fighting, but why drag us down with you? Can't you just say sorry? Why should the whole class suffer and miss out on classes because of you? Chen Siru already said it. The teacher wasn't even mad anymore. But you just had to keep arguing with him. Besides, didn't your actions get Chen Siru punished too? Isn't it enough that you're getting disciplined? Now Chen Siru has to call her parents in. Are you happy now? Look, Chen Siru is crying. She said her parents are already on their way to school. Are you even a man? How could you make a girl cry? Right at that moment, everyone suddenly fell silent. Vice Principal Guo Haibo coughed twice and spoke up. Who is Lin Yifei? Step outside for a moment. My classmates all looked at me with complicated expressions. Then I walked out into the hallway to speak privately with Vice Principal Guo Haibo. I thought he came to negotiate in good faith, but unexpectedly, it was just another lecture. He said something about how even if the teacher wronged me, I still shouldn't say the teacher is wrong. Do you think just because you have decent grades, you're some big shot? Right after that came the shouting. First high has no shortage of students like you. If you don't want to study, then don't. I just replied emotionlessly. Fine. Vice Principal Guo Haibo was so angry he could barely breathe. It was truly his first time dealing with such a bastard of a student, so he yelled right in my face. Then drop out? At this time, Chen Siro's parents had also arrived, but the first thing they did wasn't to criticize or educate their daughter, but to deny any involvement on her behalf. Then they pulled a long face, pointed at me, and said, "Who the hell do you think you are? How dare you say my daughter is lying? Sir, if you ask me, you need to expel this kid. We can't have him in the same class as our Siro. I bet he's even been harassing her." When my mom heard that, she was so furious she couldn't take it anymore. Just as she was about to retort, I spoke up first. "I'm dropping out, Mom. You don't need to worry. After I drop out, my grades will only get better." At this moment, the physics teacher, Qin Shui, sighed and said, "Sigh. There's a physics competition next month, and I was planning to recommend you for it. This competition is a really good opportunity. With your skill level, once you get a good result, you might even get bonus points for the college entrance exam. There's only one spot per class, but since you're dropping out, this spot will have to go to someone else." Chen Siro's mother smiled shamelessly and said, "Teacher, that competition gives bonus points for the college entrance exam. Then what do you think about our Siro? Why not let her give it a try?" Physics teacher Chen Shuhui smiled awkwardly. Well, her physics grades are just average. 2 days later, I took my withdrawal form to the homeroom teacher for his signature. "You really just ruined your own life." Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo couldn't help but criticize. "I have never seen a student like you. What a waste of your decent grades. I originally wanted to sign you up for the chemistry competition." I just replied indifferently, "Sir, if you apologize to me right now, I might consider staying and helping you compete in the chemistry competition. When I win, I can even put your name on the award." Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo's face instantly darkened. "Get out, get out, get out." He immediately signed the withdrawal form. "Take this to the dean's office for the dean to sign, then submit it to the principal's office, and you're done." A moment later, I arrived at the dean's office, dropping out. He then signed the withdrawal form. After signing, he didn't forget to mock me a few times. Finally, I went to the principal's office, but this time, I was looking for Principal Zheng. I took a deep breath and spoke. "Hello, Principal. I am Lin Yifei, here to process my withdrawal. Please sign this for me." I handed over the withdrawal form. Principal Lu Shenyun frowned, looking at the reason for withdrawal on the form. "You got into a conflict with the English teacher and can't continue studying here. So you're the student who rebelled against the teacher. Huh. What a pity." Principal Lu Shenyun also felt it was a shame. It's rare for a student with such good grades to drop out like this, but a student who gets into brawls, talks back to teachers, and doesn't even respect the homeroom teacher, we really can't keep you. The corner of my mouth twitched, and a sudden thought crossed my mind. "Principal, I heard First High is applying to be a provincial key school. If you need me, just have the homeroom teacher and the dean apologize to me, and I might reconsider." Principal Lu Shenyun glared at me. This was the first time someone dared to make such a demand of him. It was incredibly arrogant. "Get out. You have no respect for your elders, talk back to your teachers, and now you dare demand an apology from them. He immediately signed the expulsion papers. Back in the classroom, I finished packing my things and got ready to leave. My desk mate, Sun Fei, sighed and lamented. I'm screwed. Now there's no one left to let me copy their homework. I glanced at him and laughed, cursing. Damn it, is copying homework all you know? Why don't you study a little yourself? Sun Fei explained. Nothing goes into my brain. I'm doomed anyway. There's nothing I can do. I remembered that in my past life, Sun Fei was one of the few classmates I was actually close to. Because I failed the college entrance exam, we coincidentally ended up going to college in the same city, and it was Sun Fei who told me that he found out Chen Xiro and Zhao Tianlei were dating. Anyway, not long after graduation, news spread that the two of them were getting married. They both invited quite a few high school classmates to the wedding, and in the end, I was the only clown. Thinking about it now, it's just ridiculous. Right then, Sun Fei peeked at Chen Xiro in the distance, and muttered under his breath. I heard Chen Xiro's mom even came to the class to talk to the other students, telling everyone to keep an eye out, in case anyone dared to harass Chen Xiro again. Hearing this, I chuckled, don't worry about it. I'm transferring schools anyway. Finally, the dismissal bell rang. Everyone started packing their bags, and I was about to leave this school for good. I turned and walked out the classroom door when someone called out to me. Hey, Chen Xiro hesitated for a moment before saying, I didn't mean to get you in trouble. Seeing that I was finally being expelled, it seemed her conscience was feeling a little guilty. I turned my head to look at Chen Xiro and said expressionlessly, to be honest, when you lied to the teacher, I was really pissed off. I never expected you to be that kind of person. Chen Xiro looked like she was about to cry and said defensively, no, how could I intentionally hurt you? I looked at this female classmate in front of me, and all the affection I once had for her was completely gone. Explaining is just covering up. Her true nature wasn't anything good to begin with. I couldn't even hold back from cursing. You're pretty despicable yourself. Fooling around with Zhao Tianlei. Let's just unfriend each other. After saying that, I turned around and walked away. I had kept those words bottled up inside for a very, very long time. Even when the two of them got married, I had imagined countless times showing up to curse them out, but in the end, it was only ever in my imagination. I didn't expect to actually have the chance to say it out loud today. Being reborn is so damn satisfying. From now on, I'm never going to live a suffocating life again. After getting home, the first thing I did was turn on my computer, log into the first high school forum, and find my post. I'm very sorry, but due to personal reasons, this author is dropping out of school, so I have to put this story on hiatus. In the few days since I was reborn, I used my free time to post a novel on the school forum. It was originally just for fun, to see if I had a talent for writing. Who would have thought the school transfer would happen so suddenly? Since I'm leaving First High, there's no need to keep updating on their forum, right? So, I specifically apologized to my readers on there. After seeing the hiatus notice, a bunch of comments from fans popped up on the post. Why are you stopping the updates? Hope you come back and update soon. I looked at these comments and suddenly smiled. Looks like I do have a bit of a knack for this, huh? In the blink of an eye, it was Monday. I smoothly transferred from First High to Second High. Although the teaching quality at Second High was on par with First High, their college acceptance rate was slightly lower. At this moment, my dad, who was driving, said with a long face, you really know how to cause trouble. You even gave your grandpa a scare. Good thing the folks at Second High said they could take you. Otherwise, I would have broken your legs. In a flash, the car arrived at the gates of Second High. Because my academic records were pretty good, it didn't take long to finish the transfer procedures, and I was even assigned to a class, Class 12. A4 was the key science class at Second High. The homeroom teacher, Liang Yuding, was an English teacher. The dean took me to find the homeroom teacher of 12A4, Liang Yuding. After introducing my glorious history to the homeroom teacher, he turned and left. As for me, I made a small request. Mr. Liang, I want to sit next to Wen Mengqi. Is that okay? Homeroom teacher Liang Yuting paused for a moment. Wen Mengqi, do you know her? She's an old classmate of mine. You know each other. Liang Yuting smiled and said, sure. We chatted as we walked to the classroom door and saw the math teacher inside giving the students a test. Mr. Liang nodded politely, then led me into the classroom. Facing the students, he smiled and said, let me introduce someone to the class. This is our new transfer student. After that, Mr. Liang told me to step up and introduce myself. Hi everyone, my name is Lin Yifei. My grades are just average, but my morals are impeccable, and I've never gotten into a fight. Hearing this, the homeroom teacher standing next to me almost burst out laughing. Then he said, from now on, Lin Yifei will be joining our class. For now, you can sit next to Wen Mengqi. As soon as he said that, a nerdy-looking girl with glasses looked up and glanced at me. Honestly, this was the first time I'd ever seen Wen Mengqi, but I could tell right away that she gave off a very timid and shy vibe. She was the quiet type in class, socially awkward, and maybe even the kind of girl who often got bullied by other students. This type of girl usually keeps a very low profile in class, with zero presence, but after graduation, everyone looks back and realizes they completely misjudged her. Many alumni from the same year, and even her own classmates, were shocked. Even a first-high graduate like me heard plenty of news about her, which just goes to show how famous Wen Mengqi became back then. I took the initiative to walk over and help move my desk and chair, right next to Wen Mengqi's spot. After I sat down, the math teacher conveniently handed me a test paper too. Give it a try. It's for tomorrow. I'll go over it during class, all right? Yes, sir. No one expected that. After the class dismissal bell rang, I, the new transfer student, would instantly turn into a zoo animal surrounded by onlookers. Even students from the next class over flooded into the hallway to watch the drama. They were pointing and whispering excitedly. Is that him? I just asked my cousin at first high. I heard he got into a fight with a sports team student, talked back to the teacher, and was eventually forced to drop out. No, I think he fought someone because he was chasing after a girl. But it turns out the girl didn't even like him at all. Ha ha, that's hilarious. Doesn't that make him a total simp? I never in a million years expected that even after transferring schools, because of the fight over Chen Siru, I'd still be stuck with the title of simp. At that moment, the physics rep, Wei Yingjie, took the initiative to come over and chat. Hey man, are you the guy who got expelled from first high for fighting? That's badass. A pretty cute-looking girl walked over. Shen Xingyue smiled and said, Wei Yingji, you don't know the whole story. He was chasing after first high school beauty, and even fought a sports team student over it. I heard that sports student is a teacher's son, which is why he was forced to drop out. Oh right. I actually know Chen Siru. I looked at this new classmate in slight surprise. You know Chen Siru. Chen Siru and I were elementary school classmates. I curled my lip and said, then this transfer was a waste of time. No wonder I just transferred from first high. And before my seat even got warm, all my secrets were already exposed. Shen Xingyue blinked and suddenly asked with a look of anticipation, want to give it a try, give up on Chen Siru, and come chase me instead. The classmates around us all burst out laughing. Don't you already have Zhang Yansong? Shen Xingyue retorted with a smile. I never agreed to go out with Zhang Yansong. Besides, I like top students. He ranked 11th in his grade at first high. So coming to our school, he's definitely top 3. Plus, I think he's pretty funny. He's obviously a top student, but during his introduction, he said his grades were just average. He obviously got expelled for fighting, but claimed he's never been in a fight. Shen Xinyu looked at me expectantly. So, or I could chase you instead. I feel like you're exactly my type, and I'm not like Chen Siru. If someone fought for me, I'd be moved to tears. You know. I took a good look at Shen Xinyu. I have to say, among high school students, she was definitely considered a pretty decent little beauty. Once she gets to college and learns how to dress up a bit, she'd definitely be class beauty material. However, right at that moment, a voice suddenly rang out. Isn't he just a simp? The girl didn't even like him, yet he still went and fought for her, and ended up making such a mess that he got expelled. How stupid is that? Zhang Yansong glared at me, and gave me a warning look. You better stay away from Shen Xingyu. After saying that, he led a group of students carrying basketballs outside. If this were my past life, I probably would have actually been intimidated by his arrogant warning. After all, his delinquent vibe made him look like someone you shouldn't mess with. But looking at these arrogant students now, I just found it amusing. To be honest, the people who acted all tough in class back in school, when you look back after graduation, you realize they were actually nothing special. As for the pretty girls, they usually ended up divorced with kids, or married off to rich older men. Thinking of this, I glanced over at Wen Mengqi, who was blankly keeping her head down and doing her homework next to me. My silly, adorable little rich lady is still the best. Then, I leaned on the desk and asked probing, what about you? Do you know me too? Wen Mengqi froze for a second, then started shaking her head. That's good. Let's get to know each other from scratch then. My name is Lin Yifi. Wen Mengqi looked at this new transfer student nervously, then glanced toward where Zhang Yansong had just walked out. Do you know how to fight? I don't. They're just talking nonsense. Then you should be careful. Why? Wen Mengqi spoke up, sounding a bit worried, because Zhang Yansong might beat you up. I was stunned for a moment. Was Zhang Yansong the guy who just talked to me? Wen Mengqi warned me very seriously. Really? Because Zhang Yansong likes Shen Xinyu? I just replied nonchalantly. It's fine. It won't come to that. Do you have a boyfriend? The sudden question caught Wen Mengqi off guard. She stared wide-eyed at this transfer student, then shook her head to indicate she didn't. Immediately, my eyes lit up and I pressed on. Then what about me? Do you want to be with me? Mengqi jumped, her face turning beet red in an instant. She stammered nervously. I have a question I don't know how to do. I'm going to ask the teacher. Then Wen Mengqi grabbed a math worksheet and hurried out of the classroom. Looking at Wen Mengqi's personality, She had probably never been confessed to by a guy before, let alone met someone as direct as me. She must be terrified. For some reason, I felt a special sense of anticipation. Maybe life at second high was going to be really interesting after all. It wasn't until the class bell rang that when Mengshi nervously returned to the classroom, she didn't even dare to look up, clutching her worksheet as she went straight back to her seat. Clearly, regarding that borderline confession just now, she was both nervous and incredibly shy, completely clueless on how to handle it. Then the English teacher walked into the classroom, looked up and glanced at me, and spoke with a serious expression. Just now, I heard some people gossiping about our new classmate. I don't care what happened in the past, but now that he's in our class, he is a member of our class. I don't want you gossiping behind your classmate's back. All right, I'm handing out the worksheets. Today we're doing reading comprehension. Once you're done, I'll go over it. It was obvious that the English teacher, Liang Yuding, had also heard some nasty rumors about my transfer here, so he specifically criticized those people when he came into class. During the class, I happily discovered something: my English proficiency completely crushed that of high school students at this level. Even though I bombed the college entrance exam, at the end of the day, I was someone who had passed the CET 6 English exam in college, so whether it was vocabulary, grammatical structures, English writing skills, or reading comprehension, I was far beyond the average high school student. After finishing a reading comprehension worksheet, I only got exactly one question wrong. In my past life, I underperformed and only scored 112 in English. If I had performed normally, I could have gotten around 125, but in this life, I feel like I have a huge chance of winning and scoring over 140. After all, I have two innate advantages. First, I studied my ass off in college for certifications and grad school exams, so I memorized a ton of vocabulary. Second, I even know the actual college entrance exam questions. The English teacher, Liang Yuding, suddenly said from the podium, "All right, the answers. Everyone check your work. There are 25 questions in total. If you got 5 or fewer wrong, raise your hand." Swish. Immediately, quite a few students raised their hands. I glanced around. In a class of 48, 8 people raised their hands, meaning these people only got 5 questions wrong. It seems the level of this key class isn't that far off from first high. Not bad. 4 or fewer wrong. As soon as he said that, 3 people lowered their hands, leaving only 5 people in the class with their hands up. These were all the students with top-tier English skills in the class. However, what surprised me a bit was that the girl who took the initiative to talk to me earlier, Shen Xinyue, also had her hand raised. It seemed her English grades were actually really good. 3 or fewer wrong. Out of the remaining 5 people, it turned out only one person still had their hand raised. English teacher Liang Yuting smiled and said, "Shen Xinyue, how many did you get wrong?" "Mr. Liang, I got 2 wrong." English teacher Liang Yuting nodded and smiled. "Very good." This worksheet was quite difficult. I pulled all these questions from actual past exams. Finally, Liang Yuting suddenly glanced at me and asked curiously, "Lin Yifi, your English grades shouldn't be bad, right? How many did you get wrong?" As soon as he asked, everyone's eyes turned toward me, waiting for my answer, thinking that since I just transferred, I should probably keep a low profile. I replied casually, "Mr. Liang, I got quite a few wrong. I didn't perform very well. That's fine. Your deskmate, Wen Mengshi, is very good at English. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask her." My eyes lit up and I said, "That's great. There's so much I don't understand." Wen Mengshi immediately tensed up and said guiltily, "Mr. Liang, I'm not very good at teaching others." I had clearly scared her just now. She didn't even dare to look in my direction anymore. Shen Xinyu took the initiative again, smiling ahead. "I can do it, Mr. Liang. I'm the English rep. I can tutor the new student." After saying that, Shen Xinyu winked at me, flashing a smile she thought was charming. Right after, I smiled and said, "No need. Having Wen Mengshi tutor me is enough." However, right at that moment, Zheng Yansong, sitting over there, arrogantly chimed in, "And they call you a top student. You're nothing special. Getting more than 5 questions wrong on this kind of test. Your final score probably won't even hit 120. Huh. I thought the top 10 of no. 1 high would actually be impressive." Shen Xinyu rolled her eyes, speechless. Anyone could tell Zheng Yansong was deliberately targeting the new student. That's his overall ranking, not his score for a single subject. Who knows? Maybe he's good at math or literature. Aren't you also unbalanced in your subjects? All right. No 1 high is no, 1 high. No, 2 high is no, 2 high. Our no 2 high has never been inferior to any school, so don't sell yourselves short. Speaking of which, I just remembered, there happens to be an English-speaking competition next week. Each class gets 3 spots. Whoever wants to participate, come to me to sign up. This is a district-wide competition. You need a vocabulary beyond the high school level to register. It tests students' extracurricular knowledge. If you place in the competition, not only do you get a certificate, but there's also a cash prize, A good performance will also bring glory to our no, too high. Hearing this, my interest was suddenly piqued. I immediately raised my hand and called out, "Teacher, I want to sign up." Zhang Yansong sneered, "There are only 3 spots per class. You can't even beat the people in our own class. How are you going to compete with the whole district? If you give him that spot, it wouldn't be fair to the other students." At this, I smiled and said, "Why do I get the feeling you're targeting me? I'm not targeting you. I'm just saying, with only 3 spots, there definitely needs to be some kind of selection process. Besides, the teacher just said, it's about bringing glory to no, too high. We obviously have to send the best." English teacher Liang Yuting smiled and said, "How about this? Let's see how many people sign up first. If it's exactly 3 people, then there's no need to compete. If more people sign up, we'll hold a selection. Let's settle it like that." As Liang Yuting was about to leave, she deliberately walked over to me and asked, "Could you let me see your test paper for a second?" Probably because I was a transfer student, Liang Yuting wasn't entirely sure about my English proficiency. She wanted to see exactly how I did on the test, so she'd know how to help me improve my grades later. I was slightly taken aback, then replied, "Here it is. Teacher, please pick me for the speaking competition. I'm really good at it." Homeroom teacher Liang Yuting smiled. "We'll see about that." But in the very next second, Liang Yuting flipped open the test paper and froze. The entire test was completely correct. Only a single multiple-choice question was wrong. "Didn't they say you got a lot wrong? Why do I see only 1 mistake on your paper?" As soon as those words came out, the classmates immediately stared in shock, turning their heads in unison to look at me. Meanwhile, with a sincere expression, I sighed and said, "Miss, getting 1 question wrong is already unacceptable to me. Not getting a perfect score is a failure." Whoosh! The entire classroom instantly erupted. The English representative, Shen Xingyue, even covered her mouth in excitement. Badass, truly a top student from No. 1 High. Zheng Yansong's mouth twitched slightly. He glanced at his own test paper, gritted his teeth, and muttered, "What a show-off." The English teacher, Liang Yuting, couldn't help but laugh and said to me, "You really are something. Why didn't you raise your hand when I asked?" "Great job, keep up the good work." After seeing my test paper, she instantly felt relieved. Originally, the Academic Affairs Office had said from the start that this was an elite student with outstanding academic performance. Just now, she mistakenly thought his English was a bit weak and that he was stronger in other subjects. Now it seemed, at the very least, his English proficiency was still exceptional. I had just put my English test paper away when I heard a girl complaining behind me. "Why did it stop updating? Shen Xingyu, that novel on the No. 1 High forum you recommended last time. It stopped updating." 2 girls immediately gathered around Shen Xingyu, chatting excitedly, even when Mengqi took out her phone and clicked into the forum to take a look. Sure enough, just as expected, seeing the hiatus notice, I asked, a bit curious, "You read it too?" When Mengqi bit her lip and cautiously nodded, "So is it good?" When Mengqi nodded again, "It's good." I immediately smiled in satisfaction. Honestly, I think it's just average. But as soon as those words came out, they were overheard by Jiang Shiqi, the classmate sitting in front. Jiang Shiqi turned around, staring intently at this top transfer student from No. 1 High. Then she asked curiously, "Didn't you transfer from No. 1 High? Do you know who wrote this novel?" I asked back in surprise, "You know about it too. What's going on? Is everyone reading it?" Wen Mengqi answered softly, "Mr. Luo recommended it." "Mr. Luo?" Jiang Shiqi explained, "Our literature teacher. I think it was the day before yesterday. Or maybe the day before that. He mentioned it briefly during his lecture. He said there was a novel on the No. 1 High forum, and that it was pretty interestingly written. We got curious, so we all went to check it out. It really is fascinating. You guys at No. 1 High really have some outstanding talents. I can't believe someone could write this kind of novel." It finally dawned on me. No wonder. I was wondering why my novel suddenly had so many readers. Turns out it was thanks to the teacher's recommendation. The corners of my mouth curled up slightly. Looks like I'll have to ask for the teacher's opinion during literature class later. If there are no issues, I'll publish it online and become a contracted author. Right then, Shen Xingyue suddenly shouted, "New student Lin Yifei, do you know the person who wrote the novel on the No. 1 High forum?" Suddenly, everyone's eyes were fixed on me. Clearly, everyone was extremely curious. After all, I was a top 10 student in my grade at No. 1 High. Who knows? Maybe I actually knew them. I smiled faintly. I do. As soon as the words left my mouth, many classmates started getting excited. I feel like if it gets adapted into a movie, it'll definitely be a hit. I've never read a novel in this genre before. I feel like the author is just too talented. I deliberately kept them in suspense, then smiled and said, "Actually, it's not as exaggerated as you think. I'll ask them for you guys later, and see when the author will update next." Facing this massive group of fans, this was truly the first time I felt the allure of writing novels. I even deliberately glanced at my silly rich girl desk mate next to me. I noticed that when Mengqi was also looking at me like a curious child. I'll let you guys know once I find out. Everyone sighed and dispersed. Regardless, this was still considered good news. At that moment, the class bell rang. This period was literature. Then, literature teacher Luo Wenxin walked into the classroom. Where's the new student? Right here. I immediately raised my hand. Literature teacher Luo Wenxin nodded and said, I've looked over your No. 1 high transcript a few times. I have an impression that literature is your weak point, right? Yes, sir. In truth, my literature score was indeed my worst, mainly because I wasn't good at classical Chinese, and I wasn't that great at reading comprehension questions either. During the college entrance exam, out of so many subjects, literature was the only one where I performed averagely, but I still only got 114 points. Later, while the teacher was lecturing, I turned and joked with my desk mate. Hey, classmate Wen, your handwriting is really beautiful, elegant, neat, and full of character. Very feminine. If you took off your glasses, you'd definitely be really pretty, wouldn't you? Wen Mengqi shyly bit her lip. She had absolutely no experience being pursued by boys. This was her very first time. She had no idea how to handle it. She could only lower her head and pretend she didn't hear anything. Seeing Wen Mengqi not responding and focusing intently on her studies, I didn't have the nerve to keep bothering her. So I took out my phone and started writing my novel. Finally, the dismissal bell rang. Literature teacher Luo Wenxin walked down the aisle. He looked down and glanced at me playing on my phone. His expression instantly darkened. Were you just playing around this whole time? Playing for the entire period? Suddenly, the surrounding classmates all put on a gossipy look. Actually, the people sitting nearby had all seen it. This top transfer student from No. 1 high had been playing on his phone the entire class. Sure enough, he still got caught by the teacher. I nodded and replied, I'm not very interested in literature class. Literature teacher Luo Wenxin said with a dark face. Get out, the whole class immediately gasped. Whispers broke out everywhere. People were talking about all sorts of things. Out in the hallway on the other side, literature teacher Luo Wenxin said with a dark face, Why were you playing on your phone? You know yourself that your literature grades are your weak point. Don't you want to catch up on your knowledge? I pursed my lips, smiled and said, Sir, actually, literature isn't my weak point. I did it on purpose. I want to ask you for a favor. From now on, could you let me write during class? Literature teacher Luo Wenxin frowned. What do you mean? Right? I handed my phone over. The teacher took the phone, glanced at it, and immediately froze. Isn't this? Wait a minute. This is the upcoming plot. Sir, that novel on the No. 1 high forum was actually written by me. I was just writing the latest update. Literature teacher Luo Wenxin stood frozen in shock. You wrote. Looking closely, it was indeed true. His account was the author of that very novel. Did you really write this? Literature teacher Luo Wenxin took a deep breath. This was truly unexpected. Instantly, his strict, reprimanding expression turned into a smile of appreciation and admiration. After all, he really enjoyed reading this novel himself. Otherwise, he wouldn't have recommended it to the students in his class. Luo Wenxin smiled and said, This still won't do, even if you wrote the novel. And it's genuinely very well written. You still have to pay attention in class. Your college entrance exam scores are also very important. At this point, I explained, Actually, I'm very good at literature. I guarantee I'll score over 140 on the college entrance exam. Trust me, sir. I wouldn't joke around with my own future. Literature teacher Luo Wenxin frowned and muttered, This still won't do. Unless in the joint school exam this Friday, you can rank first in the entire school. Then I might reconsider. First in total score or first in literature? First in literature, of course. Didn't you say you were confident you'd get 140 in literature? Never mind 140. If you just get 135, that's pretty much good enough. Hearing this, I agreed immediately, almost without thinking. Then it's a deal. If I rank first in the entire school for literature in the 4-school joint exam, you have to let me write my novel during class. Luo Wenxin asked probingly, Are you confident? I smirked. Confident, that's a given. The 4-school joint exam. It was essentially a joint exam between No. 1 high, No. 2 high, experimental high school, and Huaxi, a unified exam for the 4 high schools. The test papers were all the same, because in N City, only these 4 high schools had the highest college admission rates. Among them, No. 1 high and Huaxi were the most outstanding. No. 2 high ranked slightly behind. Experimental high school ranked last. Although the joint exam scores didn't represent the college entrance exam, the exam rankings held significant reference value. Based on the joint exam rankings from previous years, the group of students with outstanding joint exam results were all potential candidates for key universities. Literature teacher Luo Wenxian finally asked curiously, Your novel is pretty well written. You might want to consider signing up for the new concept writing competition. My eyes lit up. Is that the national writing competition organized by Sprout magazine? That's right. Literature teacher Luo Wenxian nodded. That's the one. Want to give it a try? I heard a few students from No. 1 High have already signed up. Word is they're even getting private tutoring from the school. During our school meeting last week, the administration briefly mentioned it. Initially, we weren't planning to participate because a national competition is too difficult. Our school doesn't have much of a chance to win top prizes, but I think you could give it a shot. The corners of my mouth curled up slightly. I asked, would this help our school compete for the title of a provincial key high school? Would it be of any use? Literature teacher Luo Wenxian was a bit surprised. He didn't expect this kid to understand such things. It would definitely help if you manage to get a good result. No 2 High's reputation will surely soar. Sign up? Literature teacher Luo Wenxian smiled and said, you're really something. Then I'll wait for your results. Your joint exam results. Go back to your seat. Oh, right. When is your novel updating next? Tomorrow, sir. I should be able to release another chapter tomorrow. After I returned to the classroom, I was immediately surrounded by a few gossipy classmates. So, what did Mr. Luo say to you? Right then. Before I could even sit down, literature teacher Luo Wenxian suddenly returned to the classroom. There's one more thing I forgot to mention earlier. There's a new rule for this Friday's for-school joint exam. You won't be taking the exam in your own classrooms anymore. Everyone will be shuffled and assigned to different classrooms. Lin Yifei. No problem with that, right? As soon as he finished speaking, quite a few people looked at me in surprise. They didn't know what that question meant. I nodded, smiled, and replied, I understand, sir. As soon as the teacher left, Jiang Shiqi, sitting at the desk in front, turned around and asked, what did that mean? Why did the teacher ask if you had a problem with it? I shrugged and smiled. Nothing. I told the teacher not to worry about my studies. He told me that during the for-school joint exam, I have to take first place in the entire school for literature. And I agreed. As soon as those words came out, Jiang Shiqi's eyes immediately widened in shock. Oh my god, first in the entire school. Are you for real? Even when Mengqi was stunned, she stared wide-eyed at her desk mate. Just a moment ago, he had asked her to tutor him in literature. In the blink of an eye, he wanted to rank first in literature. I joked, keep it low-key. I say keep it low-key, but I might not even be able to pull it off. I suddenly felt my stomach rumbling with hunger. Didn't class end already? Why haven't you guys gone to eat yet? Jiang Shiqi smiled and said, I'm waiting for her. She said you don't have a meal card, so we have to wait for you to come back and go together. I deliberately teased. Classmate Wen, you're so good to me. Wen Mengqi's ears instantly turned bright red. She didn't say anything. She just lowered her head and took her lunchbox out from her desk drawer. During afternoon classes, it was just endless stacks of practice tests again. Suddenly, my phone dinged. Sun Fei sent a message. Holy shit, did you really transfer to class 4 at No. 2 High? I was slightly taken aback. I didn't expect Sun Fei to know the news. A picture of you at No. 2 High was even posted on our school forum. Everyone on the post is asking why you transferred. Chen Xiro's classmate is also in that class. I know, Shenxing, you already told me. Oh right, that novel you wrote on the forum seems to have blown up. At first, I thought I was seeing things. It blew up after only 4 chapters were posted. Today in class, everyone was talking about why you haven't updated. How do they know it's me? They don't. They're just wondering why this author is taking so long to release a new chapter. But Chen Xiro probably knows it's you, right? Besides, the homeroom teacher just came to ask if anyone knew who wrote the novel on the No. 1 High forum. He said provincial leaders came to observe a public class today after accidentally reading that novel. They continuously praised the principal. They said they wanted to put it in the school library as a commemorative piece. Should I tell the teacher you wrote it? Although it wasn't explicitly stated who wrote the novel on the forum, Chen Xiro took the initiative to go to the teacher's office. She told homeroom teacher Song Wenbo, I know who wrote it. Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo smiled and said, you came at just the right time. I was just saying that the novel on our school forum must have been written by a student from our school. It just so happens that the leaders from the Department of Education are visiting, and this novel caught their eye. The principal's idea now is to take this opportunity to establish a school literature club, then have this student share some of their writing experiences. By the way, was it really written by a student in our class? Chen Xiro hesitated for a moment. She nodded and spoke. Then, Song Wenbo looked at Chen Xiro, smiling as he asked, who wrote it? Xiro fell silent for a moment. Truth be told, she had been hesitating whether to say it or not. After all, I've already dropped out. Suddenly, Vice Principal Guo Haibo called. He asked who the author of the novel was. Song Wenbo immediately replied, yes, yes, yes. It was written by a student in my class. After hanging up the phone, he finally remembered that Chen Xiro still hadn't told him who wrote it. He then asked directly, right, you still haven't told me who wrote it. Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo looked at Chen Xiro with full expectation. Chen Xiro stammered, looking a bit awkward as she whispered, Mr. Song, maybe we should just drop it. Song Wenbo laughed. Drop it? What do you mean? Don't tell me you wrote it. Chen Xiro immediately grew tense and waved her hands. No, I didn't write it. Then hurry up and tell me. Why are you so afraid to say it? Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo chuckled. The school isn't going to punish anyone. In fact, they want to encourage it. Left with no other choice, Chen Siro finally muttered a name under her breath, Lin Yifei. Hearing this, homeroom teacher Song Wenbo froze completely. What? You're saying the novel on the forum was written by Lin Yifei? Chen Siro lowered her head and replied, I think so. I checked the account of the person who posted it, and it's definitely his account. Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo was dumbfounded. His mind was buzzing. How is that possible? His grades in literature have always been terrible. His essays are completely average. How could it possibly be him? Chen Siro said, feeling a bit guilty. I don't know either. But that account really belongs to Lin Yifei. I even double-checked it just now. I could even see his past chat history. Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo immediately clutched his head. He felt like he had just been hit by the worst luck imaginable. No, why didn't you say so earlier? Before Vice Principal Guo called me. Why didn't you tell me Lin Yifei wrote it? I went through all this trouble, and the guy isn't even here anymore. I even promised. Principal Guo, saying yes, yes, yes. Thank God the people from the Department of Education didn't ask to meet him. If they want to find him now, what are we supposed to do? Chen Siru lowered her head, feeling wronged. I'm sorry, Mr. Song. I didn't know either. I just didn't really dare to say it. After all, he's already dropped out. Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo was so angry he was about to lose his mind. The worst part was, because of this whole thing, he had directly bragged in the teacher's group chat that a student from his class wrote it. Wasn't this just slapping himself in the face? A student who had dropped out, and worse, a student who had argued with him, was the exact person they needed to find and praise. Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo gritted his teeth and said, well, he stopped writing anyway. Just pretend you don't know who wrote it. I'll find an excuse to explain it to the school board. Remember this. You absolutely cannot tell anyone that Lin Yifei wrote it. Just say you don't know. Chen Siru seemed like she wanted to say something else. But in the end, she held it back. Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo angrily rubbed his temples. Then, he adjusted his mood. Finally, he took out his phone and made a call to Vice Principal Guo Haibo. Principal Guo, I am so sorry. I just had a chat with that student. It turns out he actually copied this novel from somewhere else. That's all the content there is. There's nothing more after that. So, he felt too embarrassed to step forward and claim he wrote it. After hanging up the phone, homeroom teacher Song Wenbo let out a massive sigh of relief. However, just to be safe, afraid that other students might know, I wrote it. He had to go to the classroom to give a warning. He needed to signal everyone to stop talking about this matter. After that, Song Wenbo quickly walked to the classroom door. Hearing the noise inside, the teacher was just getting ready to start the class. Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo smiled and said, I have a few words to say. Stop worrying about that novel on the first high forum. The principal said it's discontinued, so let's just leave it at that. Don't bother trying to figure out who wrote it either. Even if you know, keep it to yourselves. From now on, no more discussing this. Focus your minds on your studies. The inter-school exams are coming up. Do your best to get good grades. But just as he was about to turn and leave, a student suddenly shouted, Mr. Song. That's not right. The novel just updated. Just 5 minutes ago. Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo's heart suddenly trembled. He stood frozen, as if struck by lightning. Updated. Are you kidding me? Immediately, everyone in the class pulled out their phones and started checking the forum. Sure enough, the novel on the first high forum, The Dropout Friend, which had been on hiatus for days, had actually updated with a brand new chapter. Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo was completely dumbfounded. A violent storm was raging in his heart. He subconsciously roared, We are in the middle of class. Who gave you permission to look at your phones? Hand them all over after class. The students in the class were all stunned, completely terrified by his outburst. It wasn't until homeroom teacher Song Wenbo left that everyone broke into a cold sweat and started whispering. What's wrong with Mr. Song? Why did he suddenly snap? At this moment, Sun Fei seemed to have guessed something. The corners of his mouth twitched up slightly. He sneakily glanced at Chen Siro. Sure enough, her expression was also unnatural. Right away, I received a secret text message, informing me of what had just happened. Meanwhile, Song Wenbo returned to his office. He couldn't help but rub his head. What do I do now? He had just said the novel couldn't be continued, and as a result, this little bastard updated it. If he told the truth, that the author was the student who had dropped out, it would be no different from admitting he had just lied. But if he didn't tell the truth, what if the school board wanted to find this student? Right then, homeroom teacher Song Wenbo came up with a brilliant idea. He immediately called the dean of students, Lu Chang. Then, he explained that the novel on the forum was written by me, telling him the whole story. Lu Chang couldn't help but retort, couldn't you just say he dropped out and be done with it? Why did you have to say he plagiarized it? Now that he's updated it, how are you going to explain that? I can't handle this. Figure it out yourself. Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo gritted his teeth and said, How am I supposed to figure this out? Should I say your son got into a fight with him, then colluded with that girl to match their stories, and forced Lin Yifei to drop out? The other end of the line instantly fell silent. Lu Chang's tone turned cold. So what do you want to do? Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo frowned and said, we contact the school directly. Tell the forum admins that this is affecting the students' studies, and then delete Lin Yifei's account. Or just ban him from posting. That'll do. At the same time, over at Second High, someone also noticed that the novel had resumed updating. Immediately, quite a few people took out their phones to log in and read. Right then, the physics rep, Wei Yingji, ran over, stood next to me and asked, oh, right, don't you know the author? Could you ask him to set a fixed update schedule? His writing is just too good. Just then, Wen Mengxi suddenly cried out, huh, it's gone. Why was the post deleted? For a moment, everyone was stunned. They were just reading it perfectly fine a second ago, and in the blink of an eye, it was deleted. I frowned, feeling something was off. I looked at the posts on my account, and sure enough, it had really been deleted. I couldn't help but let out a mocking laugh. Impressive. Truly impressive. Are they trying to drive me into a corner? Jiang Shiqi asked curiously. What do you mean? I was just about to say something when I noticed the math teacher had arrived at the classroom door. I took the opportunity to send a text to Sun Fei, but unexpectedly he had already texted me first. Your post got deleted. Feels like our homeroom teacher did it. He just told us not to talk about this anymore. At this moment, the math teacher on the podium cleared his throat. Everyone knows about the inter-school exams this Friday, right? We have to switch exam rooms this time. You all need to take this seriously. Next, I'm going to hand out 2 test papers. They're the math exams from last year's inter-school test. I've extracted a portion of it, and the rest are questions I came up with myself. Class rep, come hand these out. However, right at that moment, the literature teacher, Luo Wenxin, suddenly walked to the classroom door. He knocked and smiled. Lin Yifei, step outside for a moment. Everyone looked curiously toward me sitting in the back. After I stepped out into the hallway, the literature teacher asked in a low voice, why was your novel deleted? I shrugged and smiled. I don't know. Did no one notify you? I just heard from a teacher at First High that the leaders from the Department of Education even praised your novel. Why would it suddenly be deleted like this? Everything instantly became clear to me. I understand now, sir. Because I had already dropped out, that's why they deleted it. If they let it keep brewing, it wouldn't look good for them. Literature teacher Luo Wenxian suddenly chuckled. That makes sense. Then how about this? Just post it directly on Second High's forum. You're at Second High now anyway. No one will delete your posts here, that's for sure. Later on, if you win an award in the new concept writing competition, who knows? This novel of yours might even get published as a book. After that, I returned to the classroom. Not long after, the math teacher announced, take a 5-minute break. We'll continue shortly. But just as I stood up to go to the bathroom, Shen Xinyu suddenly ran over. She giggled and said, I know a secret. Then she leaned in close to my ear and whispered, you wrote that novel, didn't you? I raised an eyebrow slightly and asked, did Chen Suro tell you? Shen Xinyu smiled smugly. I'm not telling you. I also leaned in close to my classmate's ear and whispered, I'll tell you a secret too. I'm about to continue posting it on Second High's forum. Hearing that, she giggled and clapped her hands. But at that moment, I suddenly noticed that the pen on my desk, along with the notebook I had just borrowed from Wen Mengqi, were both gone. Surprised, I asked Wen Mengqi, the pen and notebook, did you take them back? Seeing that Wen Mengqi didn't say anything, I reached out to take them myself, but Wen Mengqi blocked my hand. No, go borrow them from Shen Xinyu. I let out a laugh. I looked at my deskmate, the little rich girl, Wen Mengqi. With her pouting face, are you jealous? Wen Mengqi scoffed and said, aren't you two on really good terms? Why do you need to borrow from me? I have to say, the jealous look on the little rich girl Wen Mengqi's face was actually kind of cute. Looking at my sulking little deskmate, I thought for a moment, then directly opened my phone and showed her my forum account. After stubbornly glancing at it, she immediately covered her small mouth in shock. I suddenly made a shh gesture, smiling as I covered her mouth, and whispered, now you know? After that, I told her about Shen Xinyu finding out I wrote the novel on the forum, as well as the reason I got into a fight with the dean's son at First High. I told her everything. During PE class on Wednesday, the teacher made everyone run 1,500 meters. Watching the way Wen Mengqi ran, I understood why no boys chased after her, and why she didn't even have any close friends. It was probably because she had been mocked by her classmates so much that it led to her introverted personality. But right now, I suddenly felt like I had discovered a hidden treasure of a girl. The most important thing was, no one knew how to cherish this naive little rich girl yet. Then in the days to come, let me be the one to cherish you. After that, I ran straight onto the track, jogging right alongside Wen Mengqi. Sure enough, Wen Mengqi showed a look of insecurity. She lowered her head, didn't say a word, and just kept running. I asked from beside her, do you want something to drink? I'll go buy it for you. Besides, you really don't need to care about the people who laugh at you. Only then did Wen Mengqi cautiously raise her head, but I could see she was still a bit insecure and timid. As she ran, she whispered, You're not laughing at me. In the blink of an eye, everyone finished the run. Wen Mengqi, Jiang Shiqi. And I rested where we were. Then I smiled gently. Are you two going to play badminton later? They both shook their heads and said softly, We'll just sit here and rest for a bit. But while the three of us were resting, everyone who saw my actions was stunned. It was obvious that Wen Mengqi and Jiang Shiqi were the types who weren't very popular. They weren't bad-looking, they just lacked that feminine charm. At this moment, Shen Xinyue suddenly smiled and said, How about we call them over to play with us? Then she invited Wen Mengqi and Jiang Shiqi over to play shuttlecock. Meanwhile, I used this time to post the previous chapters of the novel on Second High's forum and updated it with a new chapter. While I was at it, after writing for a while, I suddenly looked up and noticed that Wen Mengqi and Jiang Shiqi both had dark expressions. As they turned and walked toward the school path, Wen Mengqi was even wiping away tears as she walked, so I chased after them, intending to ask what happened. But unexpectedly, Wen Mengqi's face flushed red. She looked at me, full of grievance. Then, without saying a word, ran straight toward the academic building. Jiang Shiqi gritted her teeth awkwardly and chased after her. Finally, she turned back and yelled at me, This is all your fault. Hearing that, I chased after her in confusion, grabbed Jiang Shiqi, and asked, Explain it to me. Why is she crying? Jiang Shiqi let out a sigh and finally glanced at the group of girls playing shuttlecock in the distance. They saw you buy water for us earlier, and they were just gossiping about it. I just said you didn't buy it for me, but for Wen Mengqi. As a result, they immediately started teasing her, saying things like you were chasing after Wen Mengqi, and that your taste was terrible, that you had weird preferences, and that it was like a jasmine flower stuck in cow dung. The corner of my mouth twitched. I asked in disbelief, Who said that? Who said it was a jasmine flower stuck in cow dung? Are they calling me cow dung? Jiang Shiqi bit her lip and whispered, They said you were the jasmine flower. I couldn't help but laugh and curse. Who said it? Tell me. Xu Jiang said it. Shen Xinyu said she didn't expect Lin Yifei's taste to be so bad. And then Xu Jiang said it was like a jasmine flower stuck in cow dung. All right, you go on ahead. I'm going to find Xu Jiang and make her apologize. After that, I walked straight toward the girls playing shuttlecock. As I approached, seeing me walk over, Shen Xinyu and the other girls seemed to have guessed what was going on. Shen Xinyu smiled awkwardly. Sorry about that. I think we made Wen Mengqi cry just now. I took a deep breath and said with a serious expression, Apologize. But I'm guessing you won't be able to say it to her face. So you and Xu Jiang are going to write an apology letter and give it to her. Hearing this, Shen Xinyu froze. I have to write one too. Shen Xinyu retorted with a hint of jealousy. I'm not writing it. Why should I? I glared at her and angrily scolded. I said apologize. Do I have to curse at you to make you listen? Shen Xinyu had jumped in fright. She stood frozen in place. Even the girls playing shuttlecock in the distance were stunned in disbelief. No one expected me to suddenly blow up like that. Shen Xinyu's eyes turned red, and she burst into tears. She squatted on the ground, crying and wiping her tears. However, the boys who saw this scene started causing a commotion. Seeing the situation, Zheng Yansong immediately ran over. What's wrong? Are you crying? Did he bully you? Shen Xinyue shook her head while crying. She stood up and said, What does it have to do with you? Finally, she glared at me before turning and walking away. The corner of Zheng Yansong's mouth twitched. He pointed at me and yelled, Don't even think about leaving after school. That afternoon, the atmosphere in the classroom became incredibly weird. Everyone was whispering to each other, especially during the final self-study period before school ended. At that moment, Jiang Shiqi passed a note to Wen Mengqi. I heard Lin Yifei scolded Shen Xinyu until she cried. Zheng Yansong said he's going to get people to beat him up after school. After reading those words, Wen Mengqi grew tense and gritted her teeth. Then, she glanced at me sitting next to her and whispered, You should read this. Wen Mengqi's eyes were filled with worry as she bit her lip and muttered, I'm sorry. Should we tell the teacher? I frowned and replied, No. If we tell the teacher, in the end, you'll definitely get dragged into this too. I don't want you getting involved. Honestly, it was easy to imagine what would happen once Shen Xinyue, Wen Mengqi, and Zheng Yansong, all four of us were called in by the teacher. It would be a total mess. Even if the issue seemed resolved on the surface, the gossip from the other students would only blow things out of proportion. After all, in my past life at First High, I'd already experienced it once. Those rumors, they can truly crush a person's fragile mental defenses, let alone someone like Wen Mengqi, who was already a somewhat insecure girl. Naturally, I couldn't push her into the eye of the storm. Little rich girl, Wen Mengqi looked at me, feeling wronged and scared. Finally, she scribbled a few words on a piece of paper and passed it over. How about I go apologize to him? I shot her a glare and wrote back on the paper, "Don't you dare. I have a plan, honestly." When dealing with these kinds of off-campus fights, the simplest and most direct method is to show them you're even more ruthless than they are, make them back off out of fear. Then, the corners of my mouth curled up slightly as I passed the note back. "Do you have money? Lend me some. I need to scrape some cash together to hire some guys." But to my absolute surprise, 2 minutes later, I received a transfer from her. I stared dumbfounded at the number on the screen. Tens, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands. It was a whopping 286,751 yuan in total. I was completely floored. Is this the legendary little rich girl? How does a high school senior have this much money? Is it enough? If not, I can ask my mom for more. It's enough. I couldn't help but clutch my head and burst out laughing. This is just too freaking awesome. Then I opened my friends list, scrolled through, and figured I might as well just hit up Sun Fei. Someone wants to jump me after school. Tell your cousin. Get me some guys. Come to the gates of Second High after school today. 300 yuan per person. An extra 500 if they have to throw hands. Sun Fei was instantly stunned. What the hell was going on? No way, bro. Is Second High really that hardcore? I then directly transferred 30,000 yuan over. Holy crap, 30,000 yuan. Are you trying to call in 100 guys? After confirming everything with Sun Fei, a slight smirk crept onto my face, and I instinctively looked up at Zhang Yansong in the distance. He seemed to be glaring right back at me. Then the dismissal bell rang. At that moment, quite a few people instinctively turned around, looking at me sitting in the back. Even the English rep, Shen Xinyue, couldn't help but walk over. With a conflicted expression, she pulled me to the back of the classroom and whispered, "Maybe you shouldn't go out just yet. Zheng Yansong called some people, and they're already waiting for you outside the school." Shen Xinyu shook her head anxiously. "I'm sorry. I already talked to him, but he's dead set on messing with you. Why don't you, if nothing else, just apologize to him? Someone else got into trouble over this before, and ended up getting beaten up." I asked, amused, "What, are you worried about me? You're a boarding student too, right? Just make sure to apologize to Wen Mengxi tonight." With that, I casually strolled out of the classroom. Seeing that she couldn't persuade me, Shen Xinyu could only turn to plead with Wen Mengxi. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know it would turn out like this. Could you please talk to him? Tell him not to go to the school gates yet. Otherwise, he's really going to get beaten up." Shen Xinyu squatted beside Wen Mengxi's desk, terrified as she begged for her help. Wen Mengxi shook her head and replied seriously, "I believe in him." Shen Xinyu was so frustrated she was about to cry. "No. It's not about whether you believe in him or not. Lin Yufei definitely can't fight off all those guys. Zhang Yansong called a lot of people. I admit I shouldn't have said those things to you guys earlier. I was just a little jealous. Okay. But I really don't want to see Lin Yufei get beaten up by them. Aren't you close to him? Please, talk some sense into him." When Mengqi hesitated for a moment, but ultimately shook her head again, whispering, "Actually, he called people too." Hearing this, Shen Xinyu was both anxious and angry, clutching stray head and muttering, "What do we do now?" She gritted her teeth, intending to go to the teacher's office to report it, but unexpectedly, Wen Mengqi mustered her courage and spoke up. "Don't go." He said, "We can't tell the teachers." At that moment, the little rich girl Wen Mengqi's eyes suddenly became incredibly serious. If she had encountered something like this in the past, she wouldn't have known how to handle it either. But right now, she felt she should trust me. If they told the teachers now, all my previous preparations would go down the drain. Shen Xinyue hurriedly explained, "Are you crazy? If this really blows up, Lin Yufei might even get expelled." The little rich girl, Wen Mengqi, took a deep breath and spoke in a calm tone. "That's exactly why we have to trust him. We can't tell the teachers." Shen Xinyue's mouth fell open slightly, looking at Wen Mengqi in disbelief. In this moment, it felt like she was dreaming. Meanwhile, on the walkway in front of the school gates, a few classmates nearby were whispering among themselves, "Hey, aren't you scared going out there right now? I remember that guy hangs out with Zhang Yansong a lot." I immediately smiled and said, "Zhang Yansong? No idea. I think he went to the office to ask a teacher about homework," I said, feigning surprise, creating an alibi. "Huh." Liu Ziang clutched his stomach and laughed. "You're pretty smart yourself. Ha ha, as expected of a top student. But seriously, just bow your head and apologize, and it'll be over. We're all classmates. There's no need to make things so tense. Tell you what, I can put in a good word for you with Zheng Yansong." I shoved one hand into my pocket, didn't say a word, and just walked straight toward the school gates. Soon enough, the school gates came into view. A few electric bikes were parked by the side of the road. 7 or 8 punk-looking guys were sitting on their motorcycles, standing out there puffing on cigarettes. Lu Ziang patted my shoulder and laughed. "I'm out of here. Bye-bye, good luck." Sure enough, right after Lu Ziang left, those cigarette-smoking punks immediately locked their eyes on me. The punks looked at each other and smirked. Then a blonde-haired guy among them took the initiative to walk toward me. "Hey, yeah you. come here for a sec. The students leaving school nearby all jumped in fright and quickly backed away, not daring to get close to me. The blonde guy took a drag of his cigarette, threw an arm around my shoulder, and said, "You're the transfer student from class 12-4, right?" I raised an eyebrow slightly. Sizing up the group, I realized they were actually just a bunch of vocational school dropouts, not much older than me, riding beat-up electric bikes and modded motorcycles to block people at the school gates. At this point, I couldn't help but chuckle. I pursed my lips and replied, "Yeah, did Zheng Yansong call you guys here?" The blonde kid shook his head and laughed. Come here, come here. We've got a few things to talk to you about. Honestly, if a normal high schooler ran into this, they'd definitely be scared out of their wits, especially with these dyed hair, tattooed, smoking thugs. Two of them were even holding steel pipes and metal bats. It was genuinely intimidating, but for someone who had been reborn like me, it was just a little ridiculous. So I smiled and asked, "Is it just you guys? I thought he'd call the whole army." The blonde guy sneered, Wei Dazhuang. He says we don't have enough people. The punks nearby jeered mockingly. Who the hell do you think you are? Acting all tough. You think my brothers aren't enough for you? Before he could even finish his sentence, Sun Fei's cousin at the bus stop walked over, muttering, "Is it over there? Let's go, go, go." At that moment, a massive group of street thugs who had been waiting at the bus stop aggressively swarmed over, completely surrounding me and the punks. It made the surrounding students, and even the parents picking up their kids, freeze in terror, hurriedly shielding their children behind their backs. Even the school security guard was dumbfounded, trembling as he pulled out his phone to call the school administration. Suddenly, the punks Zheng Yansong had called over were completely stupefied. "Brother Lu, is it really just these few guys? Just these little brats? And you had to call so many of us here? I thought it was something serious, setting up such a huge formation. Turns out it's just a few truant brats, blocking people at the school gates." Brother Lu had already seen my photo, so he immediately smiled and said, "Yi Fei, right? Is it just these guys?" I had also seen a photo of Sun Fei's cousin beforehand, so I replied, "I didn't expect there to be so few of them either. I thought there'd be at least 10 or 20 guys trying to jump me." The guy who started this purposely went to ask a teacher a question, so he's not here. You guys can handle it however you see fit. Anyway, both sides are outsiders, so if anyone asks, just say you're passersby. Brother Lu laughed heartily. "All right, you head home first." Immediately, they tightly surrounded the little punks. "Who gave you permission to come here? Huh? Move it. Don't block the school gates. Let's go over there and have a little chat." Then, dozens of guys dragged the punks away, pulling them to the side to teach them a lesson. At this time, the school's dean of students, Lu Xiaoping, rushed to the school gates, only to find that there was no one left outside. "Wait, what's going on? Didn't you just say there was a fight at the gates?" The school security guard gulped. "Yeah, it looked like a student was about to get dragged away, but when I tried to see what was happening, suddenly a huge crowd of people rushed out and dragged those punks who didn't look like students away. I think they went to the left." Dean Lu Xiaoping drew in a sharp breath and asked, "Did any of our students get beaten up?" The security guard shook his head. "Probably not. After that, I saw the student leave." Hearing this, Dean Lu Xiaoping finally breathed a sigh of relief. He immediately went into the school's homeroom teachers group chat and sent a message, "Second High Homeroom Teachers Group. There was a fight involving outsiders at the school gates. Ask your classes if anyone knows what happened. Check if anyone got hurt. If so, report it to me immediately." Instantly, all the homeroom teachers of Second High were actively messaging their students in their respective class groups, asking about the situation. That night, during evening self-study, class 12-4 completely blew up. Someone had hidden near the school gates and snapped a photo of me being pulled away by the blonde guy. Then, a massive crowd of people rushed out, ultimately scaring the crap out of those punks. That was seriously badass. I thought Lin Yufei was a goner for sure. Who would have thought he was the real boss? He called in dozens of guys, and they were all adults too. All the students were excitedly gossiping about the incident. In an instant, they began to look up to me. Before this, everyone knew Zheng Yansong was tough. After all, back in 11th grade, he had called people in to fight students from another class at the school gates, but who could have expected that the top student who transferred from First High would be even more hardcore? Shen Xinyu let out a sigh, wrote a note, and tossed it to Zheng Yansong. After Zheng Yansong read it, he was so furious he slammed his book down. During that evening's self-study session, Zheng Yansong was called to the teacher's office and made to stand as punishment, writing a self-reflection essay. Meanwhile, the students in the self-study room, suddenly someone shouted, "Guys, look at this, that novel by the transfer student from First High. It's been posted on the Second High forum." "Wait, this ID looks so familiar." He said he transferred from First High to Second High, so from now on he'll be updating on the Second High forum. In an instant, all the girls grew excited. Jiang Shiqi's eyes widened in disbelief. She turned to look at Wen Mengqi sitting behind her and asked softly, "The author of that novel, He says he transferred from first high to second high. Then, she instinctively looked at the seat next to Wen Mengqi. The empty chair. She thought Wen Mengqi would be extremely surprised, but unexpectedly, Wen Mengqi just nodded. Jiang Shiqi gasped in shock. Is it really Lin Yifei? As soon as she said that, everyone in the class instinctively looked over. Immediately, the classroom erupted into a frenzy. Did Lin Yifei really write it? Oh my god, didn't he say his friend wrote it? Wait, that doesn't make sense. He's the only one who transferred from first high, right? Shen Xinyu smiled and said, then it's definitely him. Shen Xinyue and Wen Mengqi's eyes met. It seemed they were silently confirming something. However, at that moment, Shu Jing suddenly ran over to Shen Xinyue's side and whispered, what do we do? Should we go apologize? Even Zheng Yansong couldn't do anything to him. What if Lin Yifei finds people to beat us up? Shen Xingyu sighed and replied, he won't, but you should still apologize. Try writing an apology letter of a few hundred words. Shu Jing immediately nodded, hurriedly took out her notebook, tore out a piece of paper, and started writing the apology letter. After the first evening self-study session, Shu Jing nervously walked up to Wen Mengqi, stammering, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said those things to you today. After speaking, she handed over the apology letter. Shen Xinyu also said seriously, me too. I'm sorry, but I've made up my mind. Hearing this, Shu Jing was stunned. Wen Mengqi also looked up at her in a daze. Shen Xinyu gathered her courage, smiled, and said, let's compete fairly. Let's see who can win over Lin Yifei. Jiang Shiqi's jaw dropped in shock. She stood frozen, staring at the two of them. Wen Mengqi was also dumbfounded. She had truly never considered that a guy like me could ever like her. Suddenly, she felt a dizzying sensation, like she was floating on a spaceship. The next day, when I returned to school, walking around campus, I had already become a legendary figure. Students on the street were buzzing with gossip, occasionally stealing glances at me, but no one dared to take the initiative to greet me. When I arrived at the school cafeteria, I bumped into my classmate, Lu Ziyang. Lu Ziyang immediately gulped awkwardly. Brother Fei. About that, I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not even that close to Zheng Yansong. Seriously, I tried to talk him out of it yesterday, but he wouldn't listen. Lu Ziyang said. Everyone had heard the rumors. The guys Zheng Yansong had called a Ting Posder not only failed to teach me a lesson, but ended up getting taught a lesson themselves. I replied, amused, that's not what you said yesterday. After that, he kept hovering around me, calling me Brother Fei non-stop, and occasionally praising how good my novel was. Are there any demon warlocks on that spaceship? Or maybe black swamp monsters? I thought to myself, this guy is a real piece of work. What kind of 2D anime spirits is he even talking about? I couldn't be bothered to pay him any mind. When I got back to class, I was immediately surrounded by my classmates. All right, I admit it, okay. I wrote the novel, I said with a laugh. Then I headed back to my seat. As soon as I sat down, I was surprised to find a portion of fried rice noodles on my desk, along with a carton of fresh milk. I poked Jiang Shiqi, who was sitting in front of me. Who put this here? Jiang Shiqi looked at the empty seat next to me. The English rep? She probably bought it for you. Just then, Wen Mengqi also walked in carrying a bag of breakfast and a few textbooks. Returning to the classroom, as soon as she sat down, I grabbed the fried noodles and milk, shoved them into Wen Mengqi's hands, and swapped them for the fried noodles she had bought. I smiled and said, let's trade. Wen Mengqi frowned and asked, why? I explained with complete seriousness, I want to eat yours. The one you bought smells better. Wen Mengqi was stunned. Even though she didn't know why the one she bought smelled better, she just let out an "oh." After all, they were both just fried noodles. It didn't really matter. There's milk too. Don't waste it. Take a sip. Then I personally fed the milk to Wen Mengqi. She looked at me with a bizarre expression. Suddenly, it dawned on me. I spoke up. You're not planning to pay me back, are you? After thinking about it for a while, I finally came to a conclusion. That is, this deskmate of mine wants to swallow my entire fortune. Otherwise, why would she be sucking up to me so early in the morning for no reason? I let out a chuckle. I smiled and said, Classmate Wen, am I that kind of person? I admit I'm no saint, but even if I were to scam someone, I wouldn't scam you. Don't worry, I'll pay you back. Just not right now. Wen Mengqi pouted. That was all my New Year's money. My living expenses for this month are in there too. Tell you what, for the time being, I'll cover all your food and living expenses, okay? When the time comes, I'll pay you back with interest. Wen Mengqi. She frowned and muttered, really? Then from now on, use my meal card. And what else? We need to set up a family card on WeChat. To give you a little extra pocket money. Is 3,000 yuan a month enough? Wen Mengqi shook her head. That's too much. 600 is fine. I rolled my eyes and said, no way. You have to spend exactly 1,000 yuan a month. If you don't spend it all, you fail. Girls need to know how to spend money. Classmate Wen, you're way too frugal. With that, I added a family card to Wen Mengqi's WeChat account and set a monthly limit of 1,000 yuan. Mengqi let out a dumbfounded, "Oh," and said, "Then let me give it a try." At this point, I was genuinely amused by this little rich lady. Later, our homeroom teacher, Liang Yuding, called Zhang Yansong and me outside. The other students were all sneaking glances at us from the corners of their eyes. In the hallway, by the back door of the classroom, homeroom teacher Liang Yuting put on a stern face. "Do you both know why I called you out here?" I smiled. "Ms. Liang, I really didn't get into a fight. Yesterday was my cousin's birthday. If you don't believe me, just ask Zhang Yansong. Zhang Yansong is my sworn brother. How could we possibly fight each other?" Zhang Yansong was dumbfounded. He completely froze. This so-called sworn brother, homeroom teacher Liang Yuting looked at Zhang Yansong and asked, "You tell me." Zhang Yansong opened his mouth slightly, held it in for a long time, and only managed to squeeze out one word. "Yeah." Liang Yuting was so angry she was speechless. She scoffed. "Sworn brothers, huh? All right, then should I arrange for you two to sit together?" As soon as she finished, the two of us replied almost in unison, "No. No need." Liang Yuting crossed her arms. She said helplessly, "Aren't you two sworn brothers? Why wouldn't you want to sit together?" I smiled and said, "Mainly because we're afraid it'll affect our studies. If we sit together during class, we'll definitely end up chatting too much." Liang Yuting looked at me and realized I really didn't look like someone who had just been beaten up, and Zheng Yansong went without saying, "This kid, I heard he clung to the math teacher yesterday and refused to leave, desperately finishing a whole stack of practice tests. He definitely hadn't been beaten up either. Fine, I won't notify your parents about this for now. But Lin Yifei, and you too, Zhang Yansong. If I hear about you two getting into a conflict again, or even calling people from outside the school, don't even try explaining it to me then. You can go straight to the academic affairs office and explain it to the director." "Understood," I smiled and replied. "Got it, Ms. Liang." "Oh, right, Ms. Liang. About that English speech contest you mentioned last time. I want to participate." Homeroom teacher Liang Yuding took a deep breath. She waved at Zhang Yansong. "You go back to morning reading first." Then she kept me behind and asked privately, "Tell me the truth. Does Zhang Yansong usually target you in class? Did he force you not to tell the teachers?" Next, I recounted the incident at the school gate, like I was reporting a mafia hitman to the teacher. After hearing it, Liang Yuting was instantly dumbfounded. "And you still call yourselves sworn brothers?" Before heading back to class, I didn't forget to teach her how to report this incident to the school leadership. Just tell them that yesterday, those guys came to celebrate my cousin's birthday. They just happened to pass by the school gate. Homeroom teacher Liang Yuting was immediately amused by me. Then I blurted out, "Ms. Liang, you look really pretty when you smile." How could Liang Yuting handle that? This kid's sweet talk. She playfully kicked me and laughed. Go. Get back to morning reading. You're like this every day." Clearly, my sugar-coated bullets had successfully coaxed the teacher. She didn't pursue the matter between the two of us anymore. At this moment, homeroom teacher Liang Yuting stood at the podium. She announced, "Tomorrow is the four-school joint exam. I'll hand out the exam papers this afternoon. Make sure you keep them safe." As for the English speech contest, only 3 people have signed up with me so far, so there's no need for a selection process. Lin Yifei, Shen Xingyu, Jiang Shiqi, you 3 can start preparing on your own. Oh, right, for the New Year's Day talent show. Each class must have at least 2 performances. Anyone who has a performance planned, please register with the class arts representative. Meanwhile, a classroom at No. 1 High School was buzzing. Did you hear? That novel that was updating at No. 1 High before is now updating on the No. 2 High School forum. I heard it's written by a transfer student. I asked someone at No. 2 High. They said there seems to be only one senior transfer student. Could it be written by Lin Yifei? Suddenly, the chatter stopped dead because Vice Principal Guo Haibo was standing at the back door of the classroom. After hearing what everyone was discussing, he frowned and said, "That novel on the No. 1 High forum. Who posted it?" The whole class was instantly stunned. "You look at me, I look at you." Vice Principal Guo Haibo's face darkened as he said, "Look at yourselves. Where is the class monitor?" Class monitor Chen Zhiji stood up. He smiled bitterly and said, "Principal, I don't know either. I don't even know who wrote it." Vice Principal Guo Haibo retorted in surprise, "You don't know? Then why did someone tell me that a student from your class wrote it?" As soon as he finished, everyone started whispering, "Could it really be Lin Yifei?" Class monitor Chen Zhiji scratched his head and smiled. "Principal, that novel is being updated at No. 2 High, and they say it's a transfer student from No. 1 High. If it's someone from our class, it has to be Lin Yifei." Vice Principal Guo Haibo froze. "Your homeroom teacher told me that he had already found the student, and because he was afraid it would affect their college entrance exams, he asked them to stop writing the novel." Everyone shook their heads. Right then, Sunfei suddenly stood up and said, "Principal, Lin Yifei is the one who wrote it, because at the time, I heard a leader from the Education Bureau praise his novel. I asked him about it, but then the homeroom teacher told us not to worry about it, and the whole thing was just dropped. Vice Principal Guo Haibo's face instantly sank. He said sternly, I understand. Continue with your morning self-study. With that, he walked out of the classroom. As soon as the vice principal was out of sight, class 12-2 instantly erupted into an uproar. A large crowd gathered around Sun Fei. Did Lin Yifei really write it? Meanwhile, homeroom teacher Song Wenbo was in the office organizing exam papers. Suddenly, Vice Principal Guo Haibo walked in. The teachers in the office all looked up one by one. Guo Haibo stood at the office door. In a terrible mood, he spoke up. Homeroom teacher of class 2. Come out here for a moment. The two of them then went to the office door to talk privately. What? You're saying that novel is updating on the No. Too High forum. Song Wenbo immediately shuddered, breaking out in a cold sweat on the spot. He originally thought that by banning my account, I wouldn't be able to continue updating. Who would have thought? This brat would just run over to the No. Too High forum to update it. Vice Principal Guo Haibo said sternly. Didn't you say at first that you had spoken with the students' parents, that they stopped updating because it was affecting their studies? What is the meaning of this? The students in your class are saying it was written by that student who dropped out. Song Wenbo smiled awkwardly and said, well, about that. Guo Haibo couldn't hold back his scolding. Song Wenbo, don't think I don't know. You did this on purpose. You didn't dare admit it was the student who dropped out, who wrote it because he had a falling out with you. What exactly are you afraid of? It's just a novel. So what if he wrote it? Couldn't you have just been honest about it? Now you've put me in a very difficult position. How am I supposed to explain this? I personally told the leaders at the Education Bureau that studies are the top priority, so it wouldn't be updated for now. In just a few days, the Education Bureau leaders are going to know. Too high for a class observation. Don't you know what critical period we're in? No. 1 high. No, 2 high. Experimental high school and Huazhong normal high are all competing for this provincial model key school spot. We absolutely cannot let the leaders have a bad impression of our school. Figure something out? Make that student take the novel down immediately, or tell him to come back and update it on the No. 1 high forum. Song Wenbo opened his mouth, completely dumbfounded. Vice Principal Guo Haibo said sternly, Song Wenbo, I recall you're planning to apply for senior teacher this year, right? If No. 1 high becomes a laughingstock because of this, you know exactly how severe the consequences will be. Take advantage of the fact that not many people know about this yet. Resolve it immediately. Either he comes back to update on the No. 1 high forum, or tell him to stop writing. Otherwise, it's going to be a huge embarrassment. It would have been better to just say an outsider wrote it from the start. Song Wenbo immediately gritted his teeth and said, Principal Liu, this is my fault. Rest assured, I definitely won't let No 1 high lose face because of me. Vice Principal Guo Haibo finally nodded in satisfaction. Then, with his hands behind his back, he turned and walked away. During the third period later that day, homeroom teacher Song Wenbo said to the students below, before we start class, I have something to say to everyone. Who in our class is on good terms with Lin Yifei? The students immediately looked at each other, glancing back and forth. Finally, Sun Fei raised his hand and smiled. Mr. Song, I'm all right with him. Then someone whispered, in a hushed voice, Chen Siru. Song Wenbo's eyes lit up as he said, That's right, Chen Siru. Aren't you pretty close with Lin Yifei? Help me ask him about that novel of his. Why did he suddenly stop updating it on the No. 1 high forum? Can you tell him to come back to the No. 1 high forum and stop writing on the No. 2 high forum? Chen Siru replied hesitantly. But Mr. Song, he's studying at No. 2 high now. Isn't it perfectly normal for him to update it at No. 2 high? Why should he come back? No. 1 high's homeroom teacher Song Wenbo smiled and said, Just try to persuade him a bit. Tell him that his classmates all love reading it. Aren't you two friends? He's writing it anyway. What does it matter where? At this moment, I was seriously studying in class when I suddenly received a message from Sun Fei. Ha 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 ha. There's a good show to watch. The principal came to our class today, asking about your novel. As a result, the homeroom teacher made Chen Siru look for you to tell you to come back and update at No. 1 high. Buddy, you've already dropped out? I replied sarcastically. I already deleted Chen Siru. No wonder I saw Chen Siru stammering. She probably didn't have the nerve to say you unfriended her. Ha ha ha. That's hilarious. Sure enough, not long after, I received a friend request. Chen Siru has requested to add you as a friend. I didn't even think twice and rejected it immediately. I even deliberately turned my head, smiled, and said to the little rich lady, Wen Mengxi next to me, Classmate Wen, don't forget you're treating me to a movie this Saturday. Wen Mengxi explained aggrievedly. I'm completely broke. Hearing that, I laughed until my stomach hurt. She was seriously too adorable. I'll treat you. I'll treat you. Fine. Wen Mengxi suddenly shook her head and said, No wait, don't I have that family card? I already promised I'd treat you to a movie. Wen Mengxi spaced out for a moment. It seemed her little brain hadn't quite processed it yet. Over 10 minutes into the class, The little rich lady Wen Mengqi suddenly muttered to herself, "That's not right. Swiping the family card doesn't count as me treating you, unless I pay for the tickets out of my own pocket." I slumped on my desk, grinning from ear to ear. This little rich lady Wen Mengqi was seriously way too cute. Lin Yifei, what are you laughing at? At this point, the chemistry teacher at the podium couldn't help but call me out publicly. Only then did I remember I was in class. I quickly stood up and smiled. "Sir, I just remembered something funny." By now, Wen Mengqi's face was beet red. She knew I was laughing at her, and immediately buried her head down. "Sir, it's because I was solving a chemistry problem. There was a ba on it. Ba plus 2 na equals banana. I was wondering if I had just discovered some secret." As soon as I said that, the whole class burst into laughter. Then the chemistry teacher criticized, "You need to pay attention during class. Save the extra problems for your free time." Finally, it was lunchtime. As soon as class ended, Shen Xinyue ran over to my desk and asked, "Did you reject her friend request?" I froze for a second, then immediately realized, "Did Chen Siro look for you?" Shen Xinyue clicked her tongue and smiled. "You're really ruthless. She said she has something to talk to you about. Just accept her friend request." I replied coldly, "There's no need. Let's go, classmate Wen. Let's go get food." The little rich lady Wen Mengqi gave a soft, "Okay," and trotted after me. Shen Xingyu was momentarily stunned, because this was the first time she had been so directly ignored. Xu Jing walked up beside her and smiled. "Let's go." Stop staring, maybe he just likes that type. While lining up in the cafeteria, I was thinking about what to eat, when I suddenly noticed the big, round eyes of the little rich lady Wen Mengqi were sparkling as she looked at me. "What's wrong? Nobody's bullying you?" I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I looked over at Jiang Shiki next to her and asked, "Why is she suddenly acting like this?" Jiang Shiki shook her head. Suddenly, when Mengqi asked guiltily in a low voice, "That ex-girlfriend of yours from No. 1 High, is she really pretty?" I burst out laughing. "Ah, are you jealous?" Wen Mengqi bit her lip and didn't say a word, looking at me with aggrieved eyes. Then the three of us found a corner and sat down, chatting while we ate. "Oh right, are you planning to sign up for the talent show?" Wen Mengqi also looked at me curiously. After a few seconds of silence, she smiled and said, "I might sign up, or I might not." Suddenly, Jiang Shiki said to me, "Let me tell you a secret. Last year, Wen Mengqi won first place in the talent show." Hearing that, I was a bit surprised. Wen Mengqi immediately shook her head in embarrassment, signaling Jiang Shiki to stop talking. Jiang Shiki laughed. "What are you afraid of? This is your strong suit." Then, she told me the secret that Wen Mengqi was a piano prodigy. After we finished eating, we chatted a bit more about the talent show. I smiled and said, "Then I'll volunteer to sign up." Meanwhile, Chen Siro went to the teacher's office. "Mr. Song, I'm sorry, but Lin Yifei actually unfriended me. I sent him a friend request, but he completely ignored me. Maybe you should just call and talk to him yourself." Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo was stunned. "You guys are classmates. It should be easier for you to talk to him than me. Isn't he on good terms with you?" Chen Siro blushed and mumbled. "Mr. Song, that was in the past," Song Wenbo earnestly advised. "Let me tell you something. Boys are actually very easy to coax. Just apologize to him, say a few nice words, and see if that works. Why don't you invite him out for a meal? I'll pay for it. After all, I bear some responsibility for Lin Yifei dropping out. I really didn't handle it well in the beginning." Chen Siro retorted, feeling a bit wronged. "Mr. Song, then why won't you call Lin Yifei yourself? Wouldn't it be settled if you just talked to him?" Teacher Song Wenbo was instantly stunned. His mouth fell open slightly. He wanted to say something but couldn't get the words out. Chen Siro suddenly gathered her courage and said, "Mr. Song, could it be that you just can't swallow your pride?" Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo's face instantly darkened. "What nonsense are you spouting? Go back to class." Chen Siro immediately replied, "Yes, sir. I'll head back to class then." However, right after the student left the office, homeroom teacher Song Wenbo immediately regretted it. He patted his head. Ugh. Song Wenbo gritted his teeth. He finally found the student directory on his computer, looking at the string of phone numbers. But no matter what, he just couldn't bring himself to press the call button. After hesitating for a long time, he had no choice but to call his deskmate, Sun Fei, over. Sun Fei walked into the office, standing perfectly straight. Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo forced a smile and said, "Weren't you Lin Yifei's deskmate before? You two must have a pretty good relationship. See if you can have a word with him. Tell him to stop posting this novel on the Second High forum. Come back to First High to update it, or maybe wait until after the college entrance exam to continue writing." "Okay." Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo smiled shamelessly and said, "I'm mainly just worried it'll affect his studies." Sun Fei asked on purpose, "Mr. Song, he's already transferred schools. Are you still worried about his grades? Besides, if he writes on the First High forum, wouldn't that also affect his studies?" Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo cleared his throat and continued with a smile. "That's definitely not the same. Just tell me, Can you help me contact Lin Yifei? Sun Fei pursed his lips and said, Sir, I guess I could. But homeroom teacher Song Wenbo's eyes immediately lit up. But what? Tell me. Sun Fei deliberately scratched his head and smiled. I still owe him money, so it's a bit awkward for me to reach out to him. Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo waved his hand and laughed. That's fine. That's no big deal. How much do you owe him? I'll pay it off for you, Sun Fei asked in surprise. Really? Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo thought to himself. This concerns the reputation of First High, and it also affects my application for senior teacher status. He then smiled generously and said, Of course. Besides, I'm asking you for a favor. How much do you owe? Sun Fei lowered his head, rubbed his nose, and smiled. Actually, it's not that much. Just 400 yuan. Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo gritted his teeth. All right, I'll pay this 400 yuan for you. Just have a word with Lin Yifei. It's best if... I'm just saying it's best. We wait until after the college entrance exam to write this novel. Even though he's transferred schools now, as a teacher, I'm still worried he'll mess up his college entrance exam. After all, this is the most crucial developmental stage in a person's life. Sun Fei held back a laugh and said, Sir, I can do it. But I can't make any guarantees. Maybe we should just forget it. I can just pay him back when I have the money. Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo immediately pulled out his phone generously and smiled. Come on, let me scan your QR code. You just need to help me persuade him, and I won't even ask you to pay this money back. But you have to persuade him sincerely. It's really affecting his studies too much. Sun Fei grinned. Sir, you really don't need to pay it for me. Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo smiled and said, It's fine. I keep my word. All right then, I'll give it a try. Immediately, he actually transferred the 400 yuan. Sir, I'll head back to class first. I'll let you know once Lin Yifei replies. All right, go on. As soon as Sun Fei stepped out of the office, he immediately texted me, Ha 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 ha, I got the money. You might not believe this. Song Wenbo gave me 400 yuan and told me to persuade you to stop writing the novel. It seems this homeroom teacher Song Wenbo is really getting anxious. I smirked slightly and muttered, I have to update a chapter tonight, just to celebrate a little. That night when I got home, everyone was reviewing for tomorrow's interschool exam, while I was researching how to register a store on the Douyin platform. I remembered that a few years later, e-commerce and online shopping would create a massive craze. Opening an online store now, even though I can't say I'm the first one to the feast, I'm still getting the second or third bite. At the very least, I need to enter the market before the online shopping boom explodes and impacts the physical economy. As for product selection, I didn't plan on building a long-term brand, but hope to make a big profit in a short time. So I chose an extremely niche industry, and one that many people overlook, which is selling mushroom bra pads, inserts. However, since I'm still a student right now, I still need to keep this a bit low-key. Luckily, I just turned 18 last month, so my ID is eligible to open a store. Suddenly, Sun Fei texted, Holy crap, Lin Yifei, did your account get hacked? Ha ha ha, no, I'm getting ready to open a store selling this stuff. But you definitely got hacked, because in Sun Fei's impression, I was a true, straight-laced guy, and a science top student at that, so no matter what, he couldn't possibly imagine that I would send him pictures of bras. The most ridiculous part was, I even said I was planning to sell them, mainly because right now, I really don't have many close friends, so I had to send the bra pictures to Sun Fei to ask for his help. Are you trying to scare me with these designs? It wasn't until 10:30 at night that I finished adjusting the product templates, uploaded the product images, then did a few practice tests and crashed. Early the next morning, I arrived at class, and not long after, the proctor also arrived at the exam room. Suddenly, Lu Xiang smiled at me. Oh right, Brother Fei, how's your literature? Not bad. If there are no surprises, I should be first in the grade. Lu Xiang gave a thumbs up. Awesome. But before he could finish his sentence, a familiar voice suddenly rang out. First in the grade, just don't let me catch you cheating. Looking up, I was completely stunned. The proctor was actually Lu Qiang, the dean of students from First High. That's when I remembered. For the 4-school joint exam, it seems the teachers from the 4 schools cross-proctor to supervise. All right, everyone put away your books and review materials. Later, if I catch anyone with cheat sheets, copying, or cheating, I'll confiscate your paper immediately. I don't know how things are at your second high, but if you cheat at First High, your parents will be notified. After saying that, Lu Qiang didn't forget to shoot me a glare. After receiving the exam paper, I immediately picked up my pen and started writing. In a flash, over an hour had passed. Sir, can I hand in my paper early? I smiled faintly, raising my hand to ask. I glanced at the wall clock in the classroom. There were still 45 minutes left. There was no need to keep wasting time here. Then the proctor, Lu Qiang, smiled and said, It's still early. Everyone remember carefully. You are not allowed to hand in your paper until 30 minutes before the college entrance exam ends. But in the end, I still chose that exact 30-minute mark to hand in my paper early. Liu Chang, the dean of students from First High, collected my exam paper and pulled me aside outside to start questioning me. Liu Chang frowned, asking, "Did you write that novel on the First High forum? Never heard you had this kind of talent. Why didn't you show it before?" I smiled lightly. "Dean, I heard the leaders of the Education Bureau even praise me. Please remember to tell the leaders. I am currently studying at Second High." Liu Chang's face instantly darkened. "Getting a few compliments and now you're acting all high and mighty. Let me tell you, for the college entrance exam, studying is still the most important thing. Doing these useless things every day is just a waste of time." Then I slowly replied, Right. The dean is absolutely right. If there's nothing else, I'll be going now. Gotta hurry back and write 2 more chapters of my novel. Who knows, maybe the Education Bureau leaders are still waiting for my new update." Liu Chang was so angry he was about to lose his mind. That really hit a nerve. Watching me leave, he immediately pulled out his phone and sent a message to Song Wenbo, the homeroom teacher at First High. "I'm about to be pissed to death by your student. Writing that cheap trash novel. Thinks he's so great or something. You better deal with him quickly." Song Wenbo replied, "Dean, I've thought about it. Since persuading him to delete it didn't work, then let's organize a school-wide literature competition. Our First High has so many students. Is there really no one who can write better than him? When someone who writes better than him appears, won't this issue be resolved?" Liu Chang's eyes lit up. "That's a good idea. Let me suggest it to the principal." I have to say, First High's actions were indeed very swift. After the literature exam was over, the homeroom teachers sent down a notice to submit entries in the form of a novel. In the end, they would vote for gold, silver, and bronze awards. The principal would personally award the medals. Outstanding works could be kept in the school library. Because the activity included both 10th and 11th grades, there were quite a few students who responded enthusiastically. One after another, they went on the school forum to write. Quite a lot of students directly started writing novels. I heard First High is organizing some kind of literature competition. Jiang Shiqi, who was eating, paused for a moment, instinctively glancing at me sitting next to Wen Mengqi. "I heard about it too. Ha ha ha. How interesting." Then a few people chatted about the exam situation. "You guys can prepare in advance. For this environmental argumentative essay topic, I feel like there's a high chance it'll be on the test, because the news has been frequently mentioning this environmental management issue lately, and also waste recycling." Jiang Shiqi couldn't help but praise, "Wow, you're really amazing. No wonder you're a top student. So can all you First High students predict the exam topics in advance?" When Mengqi took out her phone while eating, I joked, "I'm just pretty good at predicting. I'm not sure about the others." "Oh right, classmate Wen, it's a date. We're going to the movies tomorrow. Don't stand me up." In the afternoon, we had the science and English exams. As the bell rang, the proctor started collecting the papers. Everyone stood up one by one, stretching. After all, sitting all day was really exhausting. Back in the classroom, Jiang Shiqi looked at me with excitement, like she was looking at an idol. Moreover, the girls next to her all cheered in unison. "He's back. Lin Yufei. The English essay really was about environmental protection. I can't believe you actually predicted it right." I pursed my lips and smiled. Just got lucky. At this time, Wen Mengqi had also returned to the classroom. She also happily told Jiang Shiqi that her English essay went very smoothly. Right then, the English teacher, who was also the homeroom teacher, returned to the classroom. Liang Yuding stood at the podium. Smiling, she said, "I won't be handing out English practice tests for you guys this weekend, and I have an announcement to make. I don't know if you guys have heard yet. First High is about to organize a literature writing competition." As soon as she finished speaking, many students in the class deliberately turned their heads to look at me, sitting in the back row. "Our school will not be organizing this literature writing competition. We will be doing something else. There are just over 100 days left until the college entrance exam. The school is preparing to form study groups of 4. We will try to directly select 4 students who excel in different subjects. Everyone can help each other study. Teach what you're best at to the other students." But right at this moment, I raised my hand and said, "Ms. Liang, I actually have an idea. This study group plan, actually, many schools are also implementing it, but the results aren't as expected. I suggest we modify these small groups a bit. We change them into groups with no fixed number of people. Promote the format of students giving lectures. If you feel it's useful to you, you listen. This way, everyone can play to their strengths. While teaching others, you're also reinforcing your own knowledge. As for the students with weaknesses, they can also choose better little teachers for themselves, instead of being limited by the teachers in their own group." As soon as the words were spoken, many classmates nodded in agreement. Truly worthy of the top student title. Hit the nail on the head. School ended on Friday. The sound of laughter and chatter filled the air. Clearly, the arrival of Saturday and Sunday put everyone in a pretty good mood. But what happened next surprised me a bit. Unexpectedly, the little rich lady Wen Mengqi took the bus home. No wonder all the classmates were clueless after graduation. No one knew her family was that rich. In the blink of an eye, it was 2 p.m. on Saturday. I had arranged to meet Wen Mengqi at Wanda Plaza. For this date, I had prepared very thoroughly. Not only did I buy 2 cups of milk tea, but I also bought a delicate bracelet as a gift. A moment later, I saw a familiar figure appear in the distance. The little rich lady Wen Mengqi was wearing a white one-piece dress, holding a small white handbag, standing at 163 meters tall, wearing small high heels. Overall, she looked very elegant, even though she was still barefaced right now and hadn't learned how to do makeup yet, and still hadn't taken off her prescription glasses. It was already clear that she was a natural-born little beauty. This was the first time I had seen her not wearing a school uniform. "Little rich lady," Wen Mengqi asked softly, a bit shyly, "does it look good?" Intertwining her fingers nervously, I chuckled and said, "It looks beautiful. Here's the milk tea I bought for you, and your gift." Wen Mengqi shook her head. I took it and shoved the gift box straight into her hands. Smiling, I said, "Open it and take a look. If you don't like it, we can exchange it." Wen Mengqi then carefully opened the box. For a moment, she was completely stunned. I took the opportunity to say, "How is it? Let me put it on for you." Wen Mengqi froze. Before she could even react, the bracelet was already on her wrist. After that, I took the initiative to hold Wen Mengqi's hand and walked into the mall. It was clearly Wen Mengqi's first time holding a boy's hand. She was a bit embarrassed and wanted to pull away, but in the end, I held on tight. She could only lower her head and obediently follow behind me, being led along, all the way up to the 4th floor of the mall, probably because it was the weekend. The movie theater was quite crowded. "Wait here for a second. I'll go get the tickets." "Oh right, want to get some popcorn?" As soon as I asked, I realized it was a stupid question, because the little rich lady Wen Mengqi was already staring intently at the bag of popcorn of the kid next to her, practically drooling. But right at this moment, a familiar voice appeared. "Lin Yifei." Sun Fei suddenly yelled excitedly, "Why are you here too?" I turned my head to look, and saw Sun Fei and 2 first-high students standing right behind me. We chatted for a bit while waiting in line. I grabbed the popcorn and orange juice, found the little rich lady Wen Mengqi, and smiled. "Let's go." Got the tickets. As soon as the first high students finished speaking, Wen Mengqi immediately froze in fear, shyly burying her head down, afraid of being seen. Looking at her adorably silly appearance, I wanted to die laughing. To be honest, even though the little rich lady Wen Mengqi doesn't know how to do makeup right now, her bare face isn't bad at all. It's just because of her personality that she isn't very popular in class at school. At this time, seeing this, Sun Fei and the others started teasing. Wang Songdao even deliberately sneaked a photo and sent it to their class group chat. The class group chat instantly blew up. "Yifei is really awful. Didn't he like Chen Siru? And yet he's going to the movies with another girl." Suddenly, someone tagged Chen Siru and sent a message, "He used to like you. How come he changed his mind after transferring schools?" Chen Siru didn't say anything, just gritted her teeth, and sent that photo to Shen Xingyu. "Oh my god, where did you take this?" A guy from our class bumped into them at the movie theater and took it. "Actually, let me tell you, that girl is always the laughingstock in our class. I'm seriously impressed. I can't believe Lin Yifei actually fell for her." After that, Shen Xingyu blabbered on and on, telling everything about me and Wen Mengqi to Chen Siru. At this moment, the little rich lady and I and Wen Mengqi were sitting in the corner of the movie theater. I leaned in close to her ear and asked softly, "Is this your first time going out to the movies with a boy?" Wen Mengqi nodded blankly, then went back to munching on popcorn. "So good." I was really amused by her innocent look. "How come you never have before? Did no one ask you out? Or does your family not allow it?" Wen Mengqi hesitated for a moment, then mouthed a reply, "Not allowed." "So, did you sneak out today?" Wen Mengqi nodded like a chicken pecking at grain. She even deliberately made a gesture. "So, do you have to go home for dinner tonight?" Wen Mengqi looked surprised. She naturally nodded. Suddenly, she nervously made a self-defensive gesture, crossing her arms over her chest, staring at me warily. I immediately laughed and scolded her. "I meant eating out before going back, or going straight home to eat. I wasn't asking if you were going home tonight or not." Wen Mengqi finally realized she seemed to have misunderstood me. Her ears instantly turned a little red. She let out a soft "oh." I realized this little rich girl was just too cute, but this was good too. At least she knew how to protect herself. She wouldn't be easily fooled by guys. The movie ended at 5:30. After parting ways with Wen Mengqi, I didn't go straight home. Instead, I sent a message to Sun Fei, asking him out for a meal nearby. I smiled and said, "I actually reached out because I need your help with something. Your cousin is still managing the internet cafe, right?" Sun Fei paused and said, "Yeah, you want to call people up again? Who did you offend this time?" I shook my head and laughed. "No, I didn't offend anyone. I just want to find people to buy stuff from my online store. That way, I can boost my store's sales." Then I clearly explained the commission rates and how it would work. In the blink of an eye, the weekend had passed. Sunfei's speed of action was really fast. Right off the bat, over 30 people got to work. I was busy from 3 p.m. all the way to 7 p.m. I was so exhausted my head was spinning. Just as I was about to take a break, I suddenly noticed the class group chat blowing up. It was homeroom teacher Liang Yuding sending a message. Students, Zheng Yansong's grandmother has been hospitalized due to a cerebral hemorrhage. His father was also in a car accident last week. The family is currently facing a lot of difficulties. After looking into the situation, I hope everyone can join hands to help out. Let's help Zheng Yansong out a bit. Next week, the class monitor and I will go to the hospital to visit Zheng Yansong's grandmother. I froze for a moment. Then a sudden flash of inspiration hit me. I smiled. Better to teach a man to fish than to give him a fish. Donations probably wouldn't amount to much anyway, but helping me work could actually earn him some money. So I went to the homeroom teacher to ask for Zheng Yansong's phone number. I called him to ask a bit about his family's situation and took the opportunity to tell him how to make some money. After understanding everything clearly, he was completely convinced. He immediately wanted to do business with me. The next morning, the classes were all about reviewing the 4-school joint exam. After eating lunch, someone suddenly patted my shoulder. I looked up. It was the literature teacher, Luo Wenxin, standing at the classroom door. The literature teacher, Luo Wenxin, smiled. The results for the 4-school joint exam are out. Kid, you're really not bad. Our second high school only had 2 perfect score essays in total, and one of them is yours. Moreover, you ranked 4th in literature. My eyes lit up. Oh, that's pretty good. But what if I didn't get first place in the whole school? After all, I had already bragged about it before, telling the teachers they didn't need to mind me in class. Then, the literature teacher, Luo Wenxin, gave a half smile. Let's wait for the full results before we talk. By the way, are you sure you wrote that novel yourself? You didn't plagiarize it, did you? I nodded. Luo Wenxin smiled. It's fine. I just wanted to confirm. Because tomorrow, leaders from the Education Bureau are coming for an inspection. Didn't First High School organize a literary writing competition? Even though our school doesn't have one, we're preparing to establish a literature club for the 11th grade to cultivate students' reading and writing skills. The principal's idea is to have you participate in an open class as a model student representative to share some of your writing insights, how you started on the path of writing, and so on. When the time comes, the leaders might also attend this open class. So if you have time tomorrow, you can organize the plot of your novel and quote a few excerpts. That way, your speech will be more convincing. I returned to the classroom. Jiang Shiki looked up curiously and asked, "What did the teacher want with you?" I chuckled. Nothing much. Just told me I ranked 4th in literature for the whole grade. Instantly, the surrounding classmates excitedly gathered around. He also said our school only had 2 perfect score essays in total, and I got one of them. Everyone immediately looked at me with admiration. Oh right, Lin Yifei. Have you checked out that literary writing competition over the past week? It's cracking me up. They made a popularity voting poll. Do you know who got first place? Classmate Guo Yan's held back his laughter and explained, "It's you, to be exact. Your novel got the highest number of votes. It completely crushed the second place, even from 2nd to 10th place. Their combined votes aren't as high as yours." At the same time, First High School's vice principal Guo Haibo was in his office. He was so furious he could barely breathe. He yelled into the phone at Song Wenbo, "Look at it yourself. What the hell is going on online right now? Add them all up, and they still don't even match his score alone. This is absolutely ridiculous." Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo opened the internet to take a look. He was also stunned by what he saw. The next 9 ranks combined still didn't equal the votes of the first place. Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo said anxiously, No, Vice Principal Guo. Vice Principal Guo, listen to me. This ranking is definitely inaccurate. It doesn't mean anything. This Lin Yifei dropped out a long time ago. He doesn't even meet our participation rules. So this has no reference value. Vice Principal Guo Haiba sneered, "Old song, oh old song. Are you really stupid? Or just playing dumb? Does that even matter? Look at this mess. Is this acceptable? Right now, immediately. I want to see a piece of work that can rival this novel by Lin Yifei, and then push him out of that first place spot." Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo took a deep breath. Suddenly, a brilliant idea struck him. Wait, Vice Principal Guo, I just had an idea. How about we find a teacher to write something, and then take that first place spot? What do you think? Vice Principal Guo Haiba hesitated for a moment. He questioned, "You want a teacher to write it?" Song Wenbo smiled and said, "Didn't teacher Lu publish a book before? If he writes it, there definitely won't be any problems." Vice Principal Guo Haiba shook his head. "No way, isn't that cheating? How would it look if a teacher beat a student?" Song Wenbo smiled. "Of course, teacher Lu won't write it himself. We'll have him tutor a student to write it, like a one-on-one mentorship." Vice Principal Guo Haiba waved his hand. Forget it. No need to make a fuss. I'm guessing the leaders already know this kid transferred schools. Anyway, he's the one who wrote it. Just delete that ranking board. Then clearly announce that registration is strictly limited to students currently enrolled in our school. At this time, I opened First High School's homepage to take a look. I chuckled in surprise. It's actually true. Let me see if I can leave a comment. Unexpectedly, just as I finished typing a line and hit send, a notification popped up saying the post had vanished into thin air. Classmate Guo Yanzi, who was next to me, was stunned. No way, right? Let me see. Damn it, this post really got deleted. I smiled and said, it's normal for this post to be deleted. Having my book up there definitely breaks their rules. However, right at that moment, someone at the classroom door shouted excitedly, the results for the 4-school joint exam are posted by the stairs. Quite a few people headed out of the classroom. The teachers will hand out the report cards in class later anyway. What's the rush, right, classmate Wen? I turned my head to look at the little rich girl. Wen Mengqi also nodded like a little chick pecking at grain, but she still dragged Jiang Shiqi along to squeeze into the crowd. Didn't you just nod in agreement? Why are you running over there? I really didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Finally, the bell rang. Homeroom teacher Liang Yuding said slowly, everyone, back to your seats. Stop looking. Only the top 100 in the grade are up there. If you can't find your name, it means you didn't make the top 100. As soon as she finished speaking, a few boys burst out laughing. Damn it, no wonder I couldn't find it. Following that, everyone returned to the classroom and sat down. Homeroom teacher Liang Yuting smiled from the podium and said, when I call your name, come up and get your report card. Lin Yifei, 136 points, first in the class. Third in the grade, Shen Xingyu, 136 points. Tied for first in the class, tied for third in the grade. Truly worthy of the title of First High School's top student, getting first place right after transferring here. Everyone used admiring gazes to look at me. These are your English report cards. The results for the other subjects. The teachers will bring them over when they come to class, but as your homeroom teacher, I actually have a surprise. The first place in literature for the entire grade is in our class. As soon as she said that, everyone got excited. Jiang Shiqi deliberately turned his head to look at me. I waved my hand. It's not me. I ranked fourth. However, the very next second, homeroom teacher Liang Yuting smiled and said, it is you, Lin Yifei. In an instant, all my classmates turned their heads to look at me. Didn't he just say he ranked fourth? The classmates who had just heard what I said. At this moment, homeroom teacher Liang Yuting asked in surprise, who said he ranked fourth in the grade. Just then, a classmate smiled and said, earlier, the literature teacher walked by and seemed to say he was fourth. Hearing this, homeroom teacher Liang Yuting immediately corrected them. No, he is first in the entire grade. As soon as she finished speaking, thunderous applause erupted. Even when Mengqi looked at me with admiration, I rubbed my nose and smiled. Just good luck. Was I supposed to tell them I had been reborn? Homeroom teacher Liang Yuting smiled and said, all right, later, when the literature teacher comes to class, he will explain his perfect score essay to you in more detail. On the other side, in a classroom at First High School, the literature teacher was handing out the exam papers. The students who received their papers started whispering among themselves. Damn, you're really good. You got 53 points on the essay. The literature teacher suddenly sighed. This exam, I really don't know what to say anymore. I already told you the essay topic beforehand. And what was the result? There's still a bunch of you who scored 45 or 48 points. Suddenly, the teacher turned and asked, Sun Fei, how did you do? Sun Fei embarrassedly lowered his head. Sir, it's a total mess. It's a waste that you used to be Lin Yifei's deskmate. Hearing this, Sun Fei explained. Lin Yifei was never good at literature either. Literature teacher Lu Yun replied unhurriedly. Originally, since he transferred schools, there was no need to care about him, but he is truly exceptional. In this 4-school joint exam, Lin Yifei ranked fourth in literature. Moreover, his essay got a perfect score. As soon as he finished speaking, Sun Fei was stunned. No way, right? Sir, I remember Lin Yifei wasn't good at literature. Did he get a buff after going to second high school? Literature teacher Lu Yun rolled his eyes. He smiled and said, who knows? Maybe after going to second high school, he started working hard. Hearing this, Sun Fei didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Work hard, my ass. Working hard at doing random crap in the group chat. Opening an online store, selling mushroom underwear, and even going on movie dates with girls. As the bell for the last class rang, I stood by the stairs, looking at the score rankings posted in the hallway. Jiang Shiqi and Wen Mengqi were standing next to me. Wow, that's amazing. First in the grade for literature. Third in the grade for math. Third in the grade for English. Only the science comprehensive is a bit lower. Your total score is 10th in the whole grade. Jiang Shiqi spoke up with great admiration. If your science comprehensive score was pulled up a bit, it would be perfect. You have to know, my weakness in my past life was literature. My strengths were the science, comprehensive, and math. English was somewhere in the middle. but the chemistry and biology parts of the science comprehensive actually required a lot of hard memorization. After graduating, I had completely thrown all that to the back of my mind. So, after being reborn, being able to get this score was already not bad. On the contrary, my scores in literature, math, and English were far higher than before. Wen Mingqi pointed at her own name. Then she tugged at me, signaling me to take a look. The little rich girl, Wen Mingqi, ranked 41st in the grade. Her small, fair finger pointed at her science comprehensive score. Then she looked at me with a bit of smugness, as if she was showing off something. I chuckled. Nice. You did pretty well. I instinctively pinched Wen Mingqi's nose and said, bring your score up a bit more. Don't go to the Magic City Conservatory of Music. Go to the Yanjing Conservatory of Music. That way, you'll be able to see me. Jiang Shixi, standing nearby, asked in surprise. You want to study in Yanjing? Which university are you aiming for? I replied matter-of-factly. Qingbei. Of course. Hearing this, Wen Mingqi asked blankly, how did you know I wanted to go to the Magic City Conservatory of Music? Relying on the memories of my past life, I knew very well that the little rich girl ended up going to the Magic City Conservatory of Music, even though it was already a top-tier art academy in the country. As someone who had been reborn, I definitely had to apply to the top academic institution in the country, whether it was the degree, the social circle, or future development. They were on a completely different level, not to mention, the thing I was most confident about right now was the college entrance exam. After the college entrance exam, I would actually lose that advantage. During these few years of college, I could still rely on my foresight of future developments to start a business and grow. Once these few years passed, the difficulty of changing my life would increase exponentially. Therefore, every single day right now was incredibly important to me. Originally, writing novels was the most reliable method. After all, I knew which works would become famous in the future, but relying solely on memory, I might not be able to perfectly replicate those classic masterpieces. Right at this moment, with the financial backing of the little rich girl, I realized that e-commerce might be an easier shortcut to success. The next morning, as soon as I arrived at school, I received a call from the literature teacher, Wenxin, telling me to come to the office. I hurriedly returned to the classroom, put my backpack down, but was surprised to find a breakfast already laid out on my desk. At this moment, Shen Xinyu giggled, ran over, and said, I bought that for you. Why did you buy this? Then she deliberately leaned close to my ear and whispered with a smile, mushroom underwear. She covered her mouth, giggled, and went back to her seat. Yesterday, she accidentally saw Zhang Yansong post a moment of him packing goods for shipping, so she privately messaged him to ask about it. Unexpectedly, after asking, she found out that so many things had happened without her knowing at all. I laughed and teased. Don't go telling anyone about this. Shen Xingyu happily walked over, snatched my breakfast away, and said, then you have to eat mine. You're not allowed to give it to Wen Mingqi anymore. Otherwise, I'll tell everyone your secret. I raised an eyebrow and joked, are you threatening me? Shen Xinyu replied in a coquettish tone, I just want you to eat the breakfast I bought. I know you deliberately gave it to Wen Mingqi last time, and I also know you two went to the movies on Saturday. How am I any worse than her? Why can't you give me a chance? She had always liked top students to begin with, especially after this joint exam. She became even more interested in me, even though we were elementary school classmates who knew each other from before. And I had even pursued her elementary school classmate. She didn't care at all. After all, Chen Siru said she had never been with him. It was just a bit of a situationship. Not to mention, they had already blocked each other's contacts. Furthermore, what made Shen Xinyue particularly unconvinced was that she looked prettier than Wen Mingqi, was better at talking than her, and was even more proactive. On what grounds could she not win against that silly girl? I immediately replied, all right, block Chen Siro and get into Qingbei. If you can do that, I'll consider it. Turning around, the bell for the first period rang. Physics teacher Nan Guoxin walked into the classroom. You've all probably seen the results. Now take out your exam papers. Oh right, where is Lin Yifei? I raised my hand and answered. Here, tell me, are you targeting me? Literature, math, English, you got high scores in all of them. Yet your physics comprehensive is a mess. As soon as he finished speaking, the physics teacher held up the exam paper and started explaining it to everyone. You could tell at a glance he was a highly efficient type of teacher. By the second period, I saw some officials inspecting the school. At that moment, the officials walked up to our classroom door and asked, the person you just mentioned, the transfer student from First High, is he in this class? Then Dean Lu Xiaoping walked over with a smile, greeted the physics teacher, and called out, is Lin Yifei here? Come out for a moment. I stood up, instantly becoming the center of attention for all my classmates. I slowly walked out of the classroom and politely nodded to the teachers. Hello, teachers, Dean Lu Xiaoping told me. Don't be nervous. This is Director Song from the Provincial Department of Education. And these are all officials and teachers from the Department of Education. Director Song chuckled and said, so you're the author of that post on the First High Forum. The one titled A Young Friend Drops Out, right? Not bad, very good. I heard you transferred from First High, so you must know both schools pretty well. Plus, your grades aren't bad either, huh? It seems it was because of that incident. Dean Liu Xiaoping quickly chimed in. A fight. This kid has a hot temper, but his grades are excellent. He was in the top 10 of his grade at First High, and after transferring to Second High, he still ranked in the top 10 in this four-school joint exam. Director Song laughed. Fighting is definitely not right. I just want to ask you one question. What do you think is the biggest difference between First High and Second High? Which school do you think has a better learning atmosphere? As soon as he said that, Dean Liu Xiaoping froze. The question was too sudden, and he looked at me with a bit of worry. I paused for a moment, then spoke up. It's like this. I feel the academic pressure at First High is a bit heavier, but I like Second High better. As soon as I said that, Second High's Dean Liu Xiaoping broke into a wide, beaming smile. Oh, could you be more specific? Why do you like Second High better? Studying at First High, I felt like I wasn't studying for myself, but for the school, for my family, and for the so-called not letting my parents down. This mindset puts a massive amount of academic pressure on students, and it also brings a sense of grievance. For example, back at First High, the homeroom teacher said more than once, and even the dean said the same thing. Don't let down your parents' expectations. You need to know that studying is the most important thing right now. Think about how hard your parents worked to get you into First High. Blah, blah, blah. You absolutely must repay your parents. I think filial piety is inherently important, and repaying our parents is also very important. But excessively cramming this concept into students' heads is not beneficial to the ideological growth of teenagers at all. It makes us feel like we're only going to school for the sake of others. But at Second High, it's different. When I was at First High, P.E. class was free time. But even though it was free time, many people would still go back to the classroom to self-study. Because of that, the students' physical health and stamina were much worse. At Second High, we're required to run 800 meters during P.E. And after running, whoever wants to play can play, and whoever wants to rest can rest. It might not look like it has the intense academic atmosphere of First High, but it's much better suited for balancing work and rest. This kind of learning method, to me, it seems the educational philosophy for students at Second High School is completely different from First High School. Perhaps in terms of academic scores, First High School might have a slight edge, but I believe that when it comes to the comprehensive development of a student's morality, intelligence, physique, and aesthetics, including their future after graduation, the students of Second High School will probably be more outstanding. Sir, I haven't been at Second High School for very long, so this is just my personal opinion. The Department of Education officials nodded repeatedly after hearing this. Well said. This kid truly lives up to his reputation as a novel writer. His logical thinking and choice of words are both very precise. An official half-jokingly said to the dean, if it weren't for the fact that we spontaneously called him out to ask questions, I would have thought you guys had prepared a script for him beforehand. That speech really clarified the pros and cons of First High and Second High very clearly. Dean Liu Xiaoping laughed and said, that's definitely impossible, sir. It's mainly because Lin Yifei is truly outstanding, and his mindset is much more mature than normal students. In this recent joint exam, his essay also got a rare perfect score. His expressive ability is excellent. Dean Liu Xiaoping was extremely satisfied. He patted my shoulder, and his impression of me instantly improved by several notches. This kid really knows how to talk. It sounds like he's praising Second High School, but the praise isn't too obvious, and adding that, I haven't been here long at the end, makes it very pleasant for the leaders to hear, unlike one-sided flattery. At this moment, another Department of Education official pushed up his glasses and smiled. Right, there's one more thing. The province is looking to select a school to be the provincial model key high school. The evaluation criteria naturally include the learning environment, college admission rates, teacher qualifications, and other school facilities, etc. Right now, it looks like First High School is more suited for this model school title. If it were you, which school would you vote for? I deliberately rubbed my head, pretending to look conflicted as I answered, Sir, then I'll be honest. Sir, then I'll be honest, whichever school I'm studying at is the one I hope gets chosen. So, I choose Second High School. The teachers all burst into hearty laughter. Haha, fair enough. Who wouldn't hope their own school gets chosen? Right then, I gathered my courage and said, Sir, could I take a picture with you all? The thing is, I'm a bit vain, and I want to show off to others a little. That the officials came to talk to me. At that moment, the Department of Education officials were cracking up at my words. This kid is really interesting. We aren't celebrities. What's there to show off? I innocently explained, but I feel like being an official at the Department of Education is already super awesome. The officials found this kid quite amusing, and since he even praised them like celebrities and wanted to take a picture to show off, they smiled and said, All right, then we'll take a picture with you. By the way, kid, the novel you wrote isn't bad either. Keep working hard and strive to become a great writer in the future. Immediately, I took a couple of pictures with the officials and conveniently posted them on my moments. Awesome. The Department of Education officials praised me and even asked me whether first high or second high is better. That afternoon, Zhang Yansong, after taking some time off, also returned to class. A group of friends who were pretty close to him all took turns asking how he was doing. Zhang Yansong briefly explained a few things, then slumped over his desk. At this time, Lu Ziyang whispered from the side, "While you were gone, Lin Yifei has been super badass these past few days." Then he recounted the things that had happened while Zhang Yansong was away, even mentioning how Shen Xinyu bought breakfast for me. Right then, I suddenly grabbed an unopened bottle of yogurt, tossed it over to him, and smiled. "Just bought it. How's business?" Zhang Yansong caught the yogurt and immediately pulled me out of the classroom, even deliberately walking to the end of the hallway to talk in private. This scene left the surrounding classmates dumbfounded. No way. Since when were those two so close? Jiang Shiqi couldn't help but gossip, asking Wen Mengqi, weren't those two about to fight? Why are they chatting together now? Wen Mengqi also shook her head blankly. Even Shen Xinyu was stunned. Those two were actually talking and laughing happily. Right now, the results are actually really good. Quite a few real customers have reached out. I calculated it yesterday. We've already sold 36 orders. After chatting about the current situation of the online store, I jokingly patted his shoulder and said, "By the way, why don't you hurry up and pursue Shen Xingyue? Otherwise, she's going to keep bothering me." Zhang Yansong lowered his head, smiling awkwardly as he said, "It's not that I don't want to. You've seen it yourself. I've tried every possible method. It feels like she still prefers smart guys, top students like you." I smiled and said, "Just improve your abilities and score higher than her on the exams. Wouldn't that work? Who knows, she might even turn around and pursue you instead." Zhang Yansong didn't dare to think about the possibility that Shen Xinyu might turn around and pursue him. Trust me, Shen Xinyu really isn't that hard to pursue. The key isn't the pursuit itself. The key is to make yourself stronger, to make her look up to you. When lunchtime came, I opened my moments and immediately burst out laughing. Especially the picture taken with the Department of Education officials. It had absolutely blown up with likes. That's so badass. The Department of Education officials even asked you whether first high or second high is better. You really live up to your name. Even at second high, you're still leading the trend all by yourself. Even Fatty Sun sent a private message. "Just finished eating. Saw your moments. I suspect you did that on purpose. So, I helped you out by screenshotting it and reposting it on my moments. Bro, you're awesome." At this moment, the arts commissioner, Yan Ziqi, walked over. She said to Wen Mengqi, "Are you signing up for the talent show the teacher mentioned last time?" Wen Mengqi timidly shook her head and continued to lower her head and eat. Yan Ziqi hesitated for a moment. But you played the piano so beautifully last time. I feel like you're the one who can put on the best performance in our class. It'd be such a shame if you didn't participate. Don't you want to show off your piano skills in front of Lin Yibei?" Hearing this, Wen Mengqi blushed bright red from embarrassment. I chuckled out loud. "It's fine. It all depends on whether you want to participate or not. No one can force you." At this point, Yan Ziqi deliberately leaned close to Wen Mengqi's ear and whispered something. Then, Wen Mengqi gritted her teeth and replied softly, "Okay, then I'll participate." Yan Ziqi happily clapped her hands and said, "Ha ha ha, awesome. What about you, Lin Yifei? Look, even Wen Mengqi is participating. It's our senior year of high school now. If you have any talents, don't hide them anymore. I think I get it now. This arts commissioner really knows how to coax people. Plus, who knows what she said to that little rich girl to actually manage to convince her." Then I spoke up. "We'll see. If no one else in the class signs up by then, I might do it." Arts Commissioner Yan Ziqi giggled and said, "Then I'm holding you to that. I'll just consider you signed up. What's your talent?" The corners of my mouth curled up slightly. I deliberately glanced at the little rich girl, Wen Mengqi, and noticed this silly girl was actually quite curious and expectant. Only then did I speak. Magic tricks." Meanwhile, at the first high school cafeteria, several teachers were eating. "Mr. Song, Lin Yifei used to be in your class, remember? I heard he's studying at second high now." No joke. Even the Department of Education officials took pictures with him. Does his family have some powerful backing? The homeroom teacher of class 12, A2, Song Wenbo, furrowed his brows slightly. "What do you mean, Department of Education officials?" Mr. Zhang next to him smiled and said, "I don't know. I just saw a repost from one of my students' moments." Then, class 12, A2's homeroom teacher, Song Wenbo, saw that post of mine. Song Wenbo was stunned and said, I really had no idea about this. I've never heard of his family having these kinds of connections." Instantly, his heart sank. "I hope this doesn't cause any trouble." He hurriedly finished his meal, making Mr. Zhang tense up as well. "Could you forward this picture to me?" As soon as Mr. Song Wenbo hurriedly left the cafeteria, the remaining teachers couldn't help but gossip. I heard this. Lin Yifei dropped out because he got into an argument with him. If the kid really has backing, then his application for senior teacher might be in jeopardy. You guys don't know. Actually, the student who fought with Lin Yifei is. At this time, Song Wenbo went to the dean's office. Lu Chang frowned as he looked at the picture. They really are higher-up officials, but looking at this background, it seems to be inside Second High School. Then he called a teacher he was on good terms with at Second High to find out what was going on. After hanging up the phone, Lu Chang said with a complicated expression, "The officials knew this student transferred from First High. They even specifically called him out of class to ask him about the differences between the two schools. This kid said, whichever school he's studying at is the one he hopes gets selected as the Model Key High School." Only then did Song Wenbo breathe a sigh of relief. He returned to his office. However, right at that moment, the phone in the dean's office rang again. After answering the call, Lu Chang went completely numb because the principal had just personally called, ordering that all seniors must attend P.E. class. Furthermore, they weren't allowed to return to the classroom during the period. They had to stay outside and exercise. What gave him the chills the most was that a Department of Education official had actually tipped them off, saying that Second High was doing a better job than them in this regard. Lu Chang was truly given a scare. To think a single student almost caused a massive disaster. If it actually ended up affecting First High's selection as the Model Key High School, then the losses would definitely outweigh the gains. Then, an idea flashed in Lu Chang's mind. He immediately found my parents' phone number and called. "Hello, is this Lin Yifei's parent? I'm the dean of First High School. We met once before. The child's files are still here at our school. I also happen to want to pay a visit to see how he's doing after transferring schools. How about you give me your address, and I'll bring them over to your house? I'm mainly worried that because of the transfer, his grades might be affected. So I want to talk to you about his situation. Even though he dropped out, he's still a student who came from our First High. After all, I'll come over for a home visit this weekend." At this time, I had just gotten home from school and overheard the conversation between my dad and the dean. I chuckled lightly. "Dad, do you really think there's such a good thing in this world?" "Yeah." I found it weird too, but he emphasized it several times, saying he wanted to bring it over personally. He also said that since you came from First High, he wanted to see how your studies are going. At Second High, I took out my phone while eating and handed it to my dad. My dad looked at his son's online post in astonishment and said, "You even took a picture with the Department of Education officials. Could it be the dean of First High is looking for you because of this?" I nodded. I gave a sound of agreement, then finished my meal and went back to my room. I could just use this time to update a chapter of my novel. The next day, as soon as I got back to school, I heard some shocking news. They said someone participated in the Zhongda University joint exam and got directly admitted to Zhongda University without even taking the college entrance exam. After hearing that, I told myself to just focus on studying hard and take the college entrance exam. At this moment, I returned to class, and just as I sat down, I heard Lu Xiang excitedly say, "I've got some good news for you guys. Yours truly is about to get into Zhongda University." As soon as he said that, a crowd of students gathered around. "Don't tell me you also participated in that joint exam?" Lu Xiang smiled smugly and said, "How did you know?" "My dad just texted me about it. At this rate, the college entrance exam is just a formality for me." Quite a few people gasped in amazement. "No way, how did you manage to pass?" Lu Xiang giggled in response. "That's a secret I can't tell." I burst out laughing and waved my hand, gesturing for Lu Xiang to come over. Lu Xiang smugly sat down in Jiang Shiqi's seat. "What's up, top student? Jealous? Who knows, we might even end up at the same college. But I still haven't figured out what major to choose." I leaned close to Lu Xiang's ear and whispered, "Call the cops. If you're lucky, there's still time." Lu Xiang looked bewildered and said, "What the hell? Are you saying I got scammed? How is that possible?" When we went to take the exam, we took it in the computer lab right inside Zhongda University. It was personally organized by the school. How could it be fake? I sighed and shook my head. "After you report it, look up the number for Zhongda University's admissions office. Then take a look at this number," Lu Xiang said smugly. "My dad called them ages ago." The corners of my mouth curled up slightly, in a mocking smile. "The number your dad called was the one on their flyers. Of course, there wouldn't be any issues with that one. You have to go to Zhongda University's official website to find it, but it's still early. They might not answer the phone yet. Wait a bit, call them at 9 o'clock. Meanwhile, in class 12, A2 at Yizhong, Chen Siru was holding Zhongda's admission list, cheering happily. Out of 201 candidates, they only accepted 21, and she was one of them. She even invited everyone to her house for a huge feast. But Sun Fei was a bit shocked. The Zhongda joint exam, how could Chen Siru possibly pass? She immediately felt something was off, and sent me a text. I just calmly replied, "Haha, what a coincidence. I have a friend who also just got accepted, but he's sitting there crying right now. Seeing the message, Sun Fei looked up. The other students were already swarming Chen Siru, showering her with congratulations. Sun Fei couldn't help but force a smile and say, I'm gonna say something that might sound a bit harsh. Is there any chance this is fake? Everyone froze at her words. Chen Siru frowned and muttered, Sun Fei, what do you mean by that? Sun Fei shook her head. I mean, is it possible that Zhangde never even held a joint exam? Chen Siru scoffed coldly. How is that possible? When we took the test, we went straight to the Zhangde campus to take it. Plus, after paying the fee, we all had to fill out a registration form. You had to pass the registration screening just to take the joint exam. The exam itself was super strict. Didn't you hear what I just said? The acceptance rate was less than 1 in 10. Chen Siro's best friend chimed in with a mocking laugh. Yeah. How could it be fake? You're just jealous. Let me tell you, Sun Fei, you wouldn't be able to get into Zhangde in your next life. Hearing this, Sun Fei hadn't wanted to be too harsh, but Lu Xian's words really rubbed her the wrong way, so she just said it straight. I just asked Lin Yifei. He said this Zhangde joint exam is a scam. Everyone was dumbfounded. A second later, Lu Xian gritted her teeth. Who the hell does Lin Yifei think he is? He's definitely just jealous. Jealous of our Siru. I always knew he was no good. He clearly got disciplined for beating someone up, and now he wants to drag Siru down with him. Just then, a student suddenly suggested, why don't we just call them right now? Just ask the Zhangde admissions office, and we'll know, right? If she really got in, they should be able to look it up, right? Chen Siru immediately pulled up a photo on her phone. In the bottom right corner was the number for the Zhangde admissions office. Hello. Is this the Zhangde admissions office? The whole class strained their ears to listen nervously. This is the Zhangde admissions office. How can I help you? Lu Xian hurriedly said, I wanted to ask something. Is your school holding a joint exam, like an early admissions test, where you can get accepted without taking the college entrance exam? The voice on the phone answered politely and cheerfully. Oh yes. That is indeed happening, but the quota is very limited, plus the exam should be over by now. Hearing this, everyone immediately got excited. Lu Xian and Chen Siru didn't miss the chance to turn around and mock Sun Fei. You and Lin Yifei are just jealous. You couldn't get in yourselves, so you call it a fake. Sun Fei was confused now too. That's not right. Lin Yifei clearly said it was fake. Why did the phone call say it's real? Sun Fei frowned. There's definitely a problem somewhere. She immediately went online to look up the real number for the Zhangde admissions office. Then she took advantage of the break to make a call. The answer she got was, Zhangde is not holding any joint exams, and there is no early admissions program. The exam fees you paid were definitely a scam. Call the police immediately. Our school's administration has already started an investigation. Hearing this, Sun Fei smirked. That phone number from earlier was definitely fake. Then she headed back to class. Just as their homeroom teacher, Song Wenbo, was lecturing at the podium, Mr. Song, I have something to say, though I'm not sure if I should. I just called to ask. Zhangde said they aren't holding any joint exams. It's a scam. Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo frowned. What scam? What Zhangde joint exam? Who told you Zhangde had a joint exam? Sun Fei smiled playfully. It wasn't me. Someone in our class claimed they got early admission to Zhangde. Hearing this, Lu Xian angrily retorted. Mr. Song, Sun Fei is just jealous of Chen Siru. We already called and asked. Why is she still dragging this out? Sun Fei laughed. Jealous of what? I already called and asked too. There is absolutely no joint exam. Furthermore, they said the exam fees you paid were all scammed from you. The reason you took the test on the Zhangde campus was because they initially collaborated with some educational institutions. They didn't expect them to pull a stunt like this. The school's administration has already reported it to the police, and here you are talking about jealousy. What the hell is there to be jealous of? Chen Siru said, exasperated. Didn't we just call and ask? Why are you being so annoying? Did Lin Yifei tell you something again? What did you just say? Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo was still a bit confused, but suddenly hearing the name Lin Yifei snapped him wide awake. What? Does this have something to do with Lin Yifei? What exactly is going on here? So Sun Fei recounted the whole story. Hearing this, homeroom teacher Song Wenbo frowned. He said, there really is a problem, because as far as I know, Zhangde doesn't have this kind of joint exam. If they did, I definitely would have notified you all. Chen Siru felt incredibly wronged. She said, Mr. Song, we just called the Zhangde admissions office. They said it was real. I can't believe this. How can anyone believe a word? Lin Yifei says. Lu Xian also said angrily, exactly. If Link, would you go eat it? Sun Fei scoffed. What does it have to do with you? I kindly warned you, and I get yelled at for it. With that, she turned around, kicked the door open, and walked straight out. Seeing this scene, Song Wenbo shouted, all this racket, what a disgrace. Let me make a call and find out. Homeroom teacher Song Wenbo took out his phone and called to inquire about the Zhangde joint exam. After hanging up, Song Wenbo spoke with a complicated expression. Chen Siro, step outside for a moment. I just asked. There really was a Zhangde joint exam incident. Hearing this, Chen Siro immediately smiled happily. I told you so. I knew it was real, but the very next second, Song Wenbo said sternly, but it's a scam. From what I've just learned, Zhangde has no such joint admissions exam. However, quite a few people did participate in that so-called Zhangde joint exam. It was set up by some training institutions, using the name of a Zhangde joint exam to scam people out of money. I heard the registration fee was very expensive. Is that true? Chen Siro immediately teared up. Choking back sobs, she said, Mr. Song, how could it be fake? But I didn't know. My mom paid the fee. Then Chen Siro cried as she recounted the whole story, explaining it all over again. After she finished, Song Wenbo didn't know whether to laugh or cry. There's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. Meanwhile, at Urjong, the police had already arrived at the school. Lu Ziyang had confessed everything. Teacher Liang Yuting had also called the victims from other classes, so the parents could go to the police station together to demand their money back. Liu Ziyang finally returned to class, looking completely dejected. He didn't even have the face to talk to his classmates anymore. He had just put on such a big show of showing off, only for it to turn out to be a total scam. Jiang Shiqi and a few other girls were gathered around chatting, whispering in low voices. I heard someone at Yizhong also found out it was a scam. At first, they didn't even believe it. They're arguing about it in class right now. At that moment, I took out my phone and saw the message Sun Fei sent. It felt so damn good. Seeing Chen Siru come back from the office crying was so satisfying. You have no idea. Chen Siru and Lu Ziyan pissed me off so much just now. They both want to drop out now. Ha ha ha. Urjong welcomes you. Honestly, if I went to Urjong and could be in the same class as you, I'd seriously consider it. It's boring to death over here. Then I told her about the dean of students coming to my house this Saturday to bring me my files. I told Sun Fei all about it and casually invited a few close friends to hang out at my place on Saturday. Hearing this, Sun Fei practically jumped up. Didn't you get into a huge fight with the dean? Plus, you beat up his son, and he's personally bringing your files to your house. In the afternoon, the literature teacher, Luo Wenxin, came to the classroom. Lin Yifei, everything is ready? Head over there in a bit. Electronic reading room, 302 on the second floor. Make sure you're not late. Then a bunch of curious classmates crowded around. Why did he call you to the electronic reading room? Why did he call you to the electronic reading room? I answered calmly. He said the school is holding some kind of public lecture. They invited me as a student guest speaker to share some thoughts on my writing process. Honestly, at first I thought it was just a regular public lecture. Probably nothing major. Just BS a few lines and be done with it. But when I actually got to electronic reading room, 302 on the second floor, I found it packed to the brim with people. It was full of freshmen and sophomores. Literature teacher Luo Wenxin smiled beside me. You're here. Later, the leaders from the Board of Education and our school's administration will all be here to observe. The public lecture will be recorded. Don't be nervous. Just follow my lead later. A few minutes later, the bell rang. Literature teacher Luo Wenxin held the microphone. Standing at the podium, he smiled and said, Today, the topic of our public lecture is how to make reading and writing your hobbies. A lot of people say, I don't like reading. I don't like reading. I don't like writing either. Right. Is there anyone here who can say they love reading? Raise your hand and let me see. At that moment, standing in the guest area, I raised my hand. I smiled and said, as long as it's not a textbook. I love reading it. The whole room burst into laughter. The atmosphere instantly livened up. The leaders from the Board of Education whispered among themselves, starting to joke around. Why is it this kid again? This kid is really quite interesting. Literature teacher Luo Wenxin laughed. All right. Don't listen to his nonsense. Don't listen to his nonsense. He reads way more books than any of you. To help us build good reading habits and cultivate our writing skills, our school is officially establishing a literature club. Then he gave a brief introduction to the club. By joining the literature club, everyone can share their favorite books, novels, literary magazines, extracurricular reading, and so on. You can find like-minded friends, and while relaxing, improve your reading and writing abilities. Let me ask you all something. How many of you know the novel The Friend Who Dropped Out on our Urjong School forum? Raise your hands. As soon as he said that, the underclassmen below eagerly raised their hands. Literature teacher Luo Wenxin smiled. It shows you guys still really love reading, just not textbooks. Then he smiled again and said, So, do any of you know who wrote The Friend Who Dropped Out? A buzz of excited chatter erupted from the audience. Then, seizing the moment, he smiled and said, Now, please welcome the special guest of our literature club, the author of The Friend Who Dropped Out, Lin Yifei from class 12-4, to the stage. Thunderous applause erupted. The students below all widened their eyes, looking up at me on the stage. The moment I stepped onto the stage, the atmosphere exploded. Hey everyone, I'm Lin Yifei from class 12-4. I slack off on my main duties. I don't care about studying. Absolutely do not learn from my example. Look at the big screen. This is my report card from the joint school exam. I had my report card projected onto the screen, kicking things off by showing off my top-tier grades. Standing on stage, I smiled and asked, "Why? Did I show my report card first? Do any of you underclassmen know? Raise your hands." Very quickly, a boy gathered his courage, raised his hand and said, "Senior, you want to tell us that the reason you write novels isn't because you're lazy and just want to play around, but because your grades are already excellent. And your literature and math scores are both very high. So the novels you write not only have good prose, but also strong logical thinking." Hearing this, I laughed and said, "Wrong. Completely wrong. The reason I put my report card up here is just to show off, to let you all know. The person standing on this stage is none other than a senior whose grades completely crush yours. I just want to ask you guys, am I badass?" The students below erupted. Badass? So badass. At this point, literature teacher Luo Wenshin panicked. He quickly grabbed the mic and laughed nervously. "Hey! Watch your language, keep it civilized. Especially you. Lin Yifei, what are you saying? The leaders are all right here." The students below roared with laughter. The leaders also shook their heads, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. The principal had to proactively explain things to the leader sitting next to him. I continued smiling. Okay, back to the main topic. Showing off is one thing, but today, since I was invited to participate in this sharing session as a guest, to share my writing process and my so-called experience, I definitely have to bring you guys some practical knowledge. I'll give you a mantra. You guys can write this down. It's actually just 3 sentences. Do simple things repeatedly. Do repeated things persistently. Do persistent things happily. What does it mean to do simple things repeatedly? Why did I mention telling everyone to do simple things, instead of focusing on so-called difficulties? Does anyone know? At this point, 2 girls raised their hands, but I shifted the conversation. Smiling, I said, "Don't raise your hands. I'm not going to let you answer. I still need to show off a bit more first." Another burst of cheerful laughter. The students all found it highly entertaining. Then, I narrowed my eyes and smiled. Because there's a saying, everyone has their own strengths. Heaven gave me talent, and it will surely be put to use. Everyone has something they're best at. Some people are good at sports, some are good at painting, some are good at music, and some are good at bragging. So the question here is, in the field you're best at, doesn't the work you have to do become very simple? For example, scoring 140 on a literature exam. Is it hard? The underclassmen below shouted in unison, "Hard." I just tested and smiled. In my eyes, it's a very simple thing. But for you guys, it's very hard. What is this? This is talent. The students were all cracking up. Even the leaders from the Board of Education couldn't help but laugh out loud. Shaking their heads, they leaned over and whispered, "This kid really knows how to talk. And he's very confident." I continued, "Doing simple things repeatedly doesn't mean just any simple task. It means things that have a high barrier or are difficult for others, but are just a little bit simple for you. This is the kind of thing you have to do repeatedly. Absolutely do not feel like it's meaningless, boring, unimportant, or unchallenging, because once you give up on this so-called simple thing, to go do the difficult things, you're actually giving up the talent you're best at, losing your true strength." As soon as I finished, the leaders below couldn't help but light up. This perspective and argument were quite interesting. Following my speech, the applause from the students below thundered. Even literature teacher Luo Wenshin couldn't help but nod in approval. Truly worthy of the title of a literature genius with a perfect essay score. Even the Board of Education leaders sitting in the back row, including the school principal, happily applauded. "Well said, much better than what I've heard teachers lecture at the previous schools." After the public lecture, the leaders all smiled, said their goodbyes, and left one by one. They even repeatedly praised my talent. I instantly became even more famous in the school, gaining a ton of fanboys and fangirls. A few girls gathered all their courage and ran over to ask for my contact info, but I waved them all off and declined. Afterward, literature teacher Luo Wenshin praised me from the side. "You did good, kid." The principal said this public lecture. "We need to take the recorded video and post it on our Urjong official website for promotion. It's a pity you're already a senior. Otherwise, the position of literature club president would definitely be yours." Honestly, I gotta say, that very night, the video of my speech was posted on the school forum. It was even pinned to the top. In an instant, tons of second-high students rushed in to watch it, leaving all kinds of comments below. "So you're the one who wrote that novel. I want to have your babies." But absolutely no one knew that a senior guy admired by so many classmates like this was currently doing something so bold that his peers couldn't even imagine. Because I was hiding in my room, picking out new styles of mushroom bras, getting ready for a Christmas promotion. But the initial investment wasn't cheap. The little stash of my little rich lady, Wen Mengqi, was about to be drained dry by me. Over 200,000, now there's only a little over 50,000 left. The next day, On the bus back to school, I unexpectedly ran into two familiar faces. Then I looked toward that silhouette. The silhouette that had left such a deep mark in my past life. I asked, "Did you get your money back from Zhongda?" Sigh. Tell me about people these days. How can they be so wicked? Hearing that, Chen Siru lowered her head. She walked up to me with her head down and whispered, "I'm sorry. Good thing you warned us. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't have found out so quickly." Right then, the bus suddenly jolted. Chen Siru instinctively grabbed my arm to steady herself. She looked at me with pitiful eyes and asked softly, "Are you free on Christmas? I know you're definitely still mad, but I want to treat you to dinner to apologize. Is that okay?" She looked up, blinking her big eyes. I have to say, Chen Siru really is the type of girl with stunning looks. Her pitiful tone even had the guys on the bus staring in a daze. But that didn't work on me. I frowned and replied, "I'm busy." Chen Siru shook my arm, acting cute. "Come on, I know I was wrong. Please don't be mad at me anymore." Lu Ziyan also chimed in from the side. "Look, Chen Siru already apologized to you. Just give her a chance. A guy shouldn't be so petty. Honestly, with these two girls pulling this trick, any guy who was even a little soft-hearted would probably fall right into their trap. God knows how much of their gaslighting I swallowed in my past life. In the end, when I found out Chen Siru and Zhao Tianlei were together and even getting married, I completely broke down. Now, looking back at this so-called first love campus belle, I really feel absolutely nothing. You could even say, aside from Chen Siru's decent looks, the vibe she gives me isn't even as good as Xin Yue's. So, after flatly refusing, I got off the bus. Since Christmas was just around the corner, I wrote a note and handed it to my little rich lady, Wen Mengqi. Wen Mengqi looked at the note with only one word on it, momentarily speechless. Right then, Zheng Yansong suddenly cheered in excitement. "Awesome!" The chatting classmates were all startled. Then Zheng Yansong hurriedly ran over to me, pulling out his phone and logging into the store's management platform. His eyes were brimming with unconcealed excitement. "Look, our main Christmas items are completely sold out. Tons of people on the platform are messaging to ask when we'll restock." I said slowly, "This is just the beginning. Give them all this standard reply. Just say standard shipping takes 3 to 4 days to arrive. If they need it urgently, we can do next day delivery, but they have to cover the shipping cost themselves." Zheng Yansong gritted his teeth and said, "I'm taking half a day off. With so many customer inquiries, my sister definitely can't handle it all alone." An idea popped into my head. I said, "I have a plan." The two of us then went to the teacher's office. Knock, knock. Our homeroom teacher, Liang Yuding, turned around. Seeing that it was me and Zheng Yansong coming in, "What is it now, fighting again?" "Sir, I'd like to request to borrow a school computer, or get access to a computer in the electronic reading room." Homeroom teacher Liang Yuting frowned. He turned fully and asked, "What do you need a computer for?" "I need to do some things unrelated to studying, but I can guarantee that Zheng Yansong will hit the Tier 1 university cutoff in the first mock exam." Hearing this, Zheng Yansong froze. He nervously tugged at me and whispered, "How the hell am I supposed to get a Tier 1 score? I can't do that." Seeing this, Liang Yuding couldn't help but laugh. He immediately teased, "Look at that. Even he doesn't believe it, and you expect me to. If you said you'd hit the Tier 1 cutoff yourself, I'd think it was possible. But how could Zheng Yansong pull that off? His English is a weak point. His literature is poor too. Wait, it just so happens that his weakest subjects are your strongest. Is that it? You want to tutor him?" "Sir, I don't just want to tutor him. I'm absolutely going to make him hit the Tier 1 cutoff." In the first mock exam, Liang Yuting shot the kid a glance, then joked with a smile, "Your word doesn't count. What if he doesn't make it? Besides, you guys need a computer. What exactly is it for?" Zheng Yansong gritted his teeth and said, "Forget it. Sir, I'll just take half a day off. Just say I have a family emergency." Now, Liang Yuting was baffled. What the hell was wrong with these two? Can't you just explain why you need the computer? If I don't approve it, you're just going to take time off? Well, I'm not approving your time off either. Are you guys trying to skip class? Then Zheng Yansong replied, "Yeah, if you don't approve it, I'll just have to skip." Liang Yuting furiously shot up from his chair. He dragged the two of us out into the hallway for a scolding. "Lin Yifei, you speak first. What exactly is going on? If you don't explain clearly, you're not going back to class. You'll stand here until you do." Zheng Yansong was also bewildered. He had no idea what I was actually trying to do, and to claim I'd get him to a Tier 1 score on the first mock exam. He was currently 40 or 50 points away from even a Tier 2 score. But right at that moment, I suddenly spoke up. "Sir, I can tell you, but you have to keep it a secret." Liang Yuting sighed helplessly. "Fine, I promise." Spit it out. The next second, I opened up my mushroom bra store and handed him the phone. Liang Yuting took one look. It turned out to be mushroom bras. His face instantly flushed red. He scolded playfully, "You're a student. Why are you looking at this stuff?" He was completely dumbfounded. Looking at it online was one thing, but actually showing it to a teacher. Zheng Yansong's eyes widened in shock. Holy crap. No way you showed the teacher. You can't just show him that. In the end, it took me over 10 minutes to explain the whole story from start to finish. Hearing this, Liang Yuting let out a long sigh. He said in amazement, "You really shocked me. More like scared me half to death. You're so young. Of all the stores you could open, why sell this stuff?" Thinking about those mushroom bra pictures just now, even a grown man like him couldn't help but blush. It was hard to imagine this kid was actually the store owner. If Zheng Yansong had done this, he'd be surprised. Sure, but he could understand it. But to think a top student like me was doing it, the contrast was just too huge. I smiled and replied, "Sir, this is a legitimate legal business. So honestly, whether you approve it or not, Zheng Yansong still has to take time off. I figured it'd be better to just give him a computer and let him stay at school. At least he can use the 15-minute breaks and lunch hour. He can make the most of that time, while also maximizing his study time. Of course, I know this is against the rules. If I were at first high, I definitely wouldn't be able to say this. But this is second high. And more importantly, you're my homeroom teacher." Liang Yuting burst out laughing. "What about me? You think I'm definitely going to agree?" I answered firmly. "You're a good teacher who truly cares about his students. You're a good teacher who truly cares about his students." Liang Yuting didn't know whether to laugh or cry. All right, don't flatter me too much. You sure have a silver tongue. I can bring my spare laptop from home. Just come to the office to find me after class. The problem is, what if someone else asks about it? Besides, the stuff your store sells, it wouldn't be good if other students and teachers saw it." He couldn't help but glare at me as he finished. An idea struck me. The library. We can keep the laptop in the library. Then after class, Zheng Yansong can run straight to the library. Liang Yuting frowned, hesitating for a moment. I suppose that could work, but it still feels a bit inappropriate. But he also understood Zheng Yansong's family situation. I immediately pushed Zheng Yansong's head down and bowed deeply, saying, "Thank you, sir." Seeing this, Liang Yuting was truly out of options. He sighed. "All right, we'll do it your way." On Thursday, I opened the store management platform to take a look. Revenue had actually surpassed 300,000. Just as Zheng Yansong was still buzzing with excitement, I said, half laughing, half crying, "Don't get too excited. We've got another problem. Damn it, 300,000 worth of goods. We have to front the capital before we can ship them out. Otherwise, what do we do?" Zheng Yansong finally tensed up. Right. I was just about to mention that. I tried it just now. It said the bank card is out of funds, so a lot of orders can't be processed right now. What do we do? Let me figure something out. Wait for my word. I knew I definitely couldn't count on Zheng Yansong for this. If he had money, he would have lent it to me already. It all went to the hospital and car accident compensation. What should I do? Come clean to my parents. Tell them their son is a big shot now, making hundreds of thousands in revenue a day. I immediately scrapped that idea. Right then, Wen Mengqi suddenly sent a message. "What are you doing?" I rolled my eyes. I immediately replied, "Missing someone. Do you have any money left?" Wen Mengqi replied, "Nope, all out. Gave it all to you?" Staring at the message, my mind went blank. It seemed like even I didn't know what to do. After all, I'd already drained her little stash. Unexpectedly, 10 minutes later, Wen Mengqi sent another message along with a string of numbers. As looking at the message, for a moment, 2 words slipped from my mouth. Holy crap, I stole my dad's card. There should be money on it. My head was buzzing. Now I finally understood why classmate Wen got scammed by that scumbag in my past life. This is just too naive. How could there be such a foolishly adorable girl? She actually stole her family's bank card. I replied, "What if you get caught? Will they call the cops on me?" No way, my dad has tons of cards. He probably wouldn't even notice if one went missing. Anyway, by the time he finds out, you can just put the money back. I was seriously moved to tears. If I didn't cherish her properly, I'd be the biggest idiot in the world. I immediately ran to an ATM outside. I selected the cardless transaction option, then checked the balance. I shouldn't have looked. When I did, I nearly had a heart attack. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, millions. There was actually 45 million yuan on this card. I couldn't help but gulp. In other words, counting my little rich lady's entire stash. I was holding on to about 2 million yuan of her money. Friday morning, I took the bus back to the school gate and bought breakfast for my little rich lady. Wen Mengqi, after waiting in the classroom for a long time, Wen Mengqi and Jiang Shiqi finally came back. I leaned in close to Wen Mengqi's ear and whispered, "Too many people are watching. Otherwise, I'd feed you myself." My little rich lady Wen Mengqi instantly blushed and lowered her head, munching away with her little mouth. After 2 periods of math, Lu Ziang grabbed a basketball and called some classmates out to blow off steam. Zheng Yansong replied, "You guys go ahead. I'm heading to the library." With that, he grabbed a few books and his supplies, getting ready to head to the library. At first, everyone teased. Keep bragging. But unexpectedly, Zheng Yansong actually went to the library. This left the whole group wide-eyed in shock. Not only that, but every recess after that, pretty much whenever he had free time, Zheng Yansong would go to the library to study. This massive contrast made his classmates question reality. A few minutes later, homeroom teacher Liang Yuding suddenly walked in, smiling. Before we start class, I have an announcement. A few days ago, didn't we discuss the idea of forming study groups? Lin Yifei pointed out that this study method still has certain limitations. He then divided the groups according to my previous proposal. However, right at that moment, I suddenly raised my hand. Sir, I suggest that each student should only be allowed to join a maximum of 2 study groups, so everyone's study focus is clear, and to reduce the burden on the student teachers. Otherwise, if 30 or 40 people in the class all come asking questions, who could handle that? Liang Yuting showed a look of approval. Then let's do it that way. Meanwhile, at the police station, the criminals had been caught. A crowd of parents who had been scammed by the training center were all gathered together, yelling, "Why could Second High get their money back? But the money from our schools, Experimental High and Huaxi High, why can't it be recovered?" The police station was instantly in total chaos. At this point, a police officer sighed and shouted loudly, "First of all, it's not that your money can't be recovered. It's just in the process of being traced, so it won't be immediate. Second, because a Second High student reported the case, we were able to immediately freeze the scam ring's bank cards. But this organization is very cunning. They split up the tuition money from your school's students. The training center account that we froze only contained the money paid by Second High parents. As for your accounts, by the time the police got the victim list and went to the bank, the money had already been transferred away by the scammers. So it's not that we're discriminating. Understand? To put it bluntly, in your schools, not a single person realized they were being scammed. Someone at their school figured it out, which is why they successfully salvaged their losses. Do you understand now? And as for the Second High parents, don't thank me. If you want to thank someone, thank the student who reported it to the police. If that student hadn't spotted the problem, your money probably would have been transferred away too. The officer looked at the case file, then smiled and said, "The person who reported it is named Ling Yifei, a high schooler. The registered victim is Lu Xiang, a senior from class 4 at Second High. That's weird. Why is this Lin Yifei registered as a First High student?" The officer took a sharp breath. A First High student reported a case for a Second High student. Hearing this, the parents were all dumbfounded. The First High parents were wide-eyed, their jaws dropping. This isn't right. Then why didn't our First High know anything about it? A crowd of parents of the scammed First High students were absolutely furious. They immediately agreed to go to the school to demand justice. Half an hour later, over 20 people stormed the gates of First High, cursing as they walked, charging straight into the senior teacher's office. The teachers were terrified seeing this scene. Meanwhile, the students curiously peeked toward the office. Seeing this, physics teacher Qin Shuhui hurriedly stepped forward to calm them down. "Everyone please calm down and speak slowly. Who are you looking for? Which class? What police report?" A few furious parents stepped forward, demanding, "Do you know which class Lin Yifei is in?" He knew perfectly well that the Zhongda exam was a scam, yet he went and reported it to the police for the Second High students, without saying a single word to our First High students. Now the police are saying, only Second High's scammed money can be recovered. Isn't this just screwing us over? They said Lin Yifei is a First High student. Who is Lin Yifei's homeroom teacher? Step out here. As soon as they finished, Qin Shuhui immediately grabbed her phone and called Song Wenbo. Very quickly, homeroom teacher Song Wenbo returned to the office, completely stunned at the sight of the crowd. "Who's looking for me?" The parents immediately rushed forward, surrounding Song Wenbo. "You're that Lin Yifei's homeroom teacher, aren't you?"